Hello, we are live. It is official. This is not a premiere. This is not a pre-recorded, and I'm looking forward to really dropping in with the community and getting back to doing these lives. I used to do almost exclusively lives, but there's been a lot that's changed with my streaming service, and so that sort of threw a wrench in the works, and I had to switch things up. Welcome, welcome. I see somebody's here. We're going to have some fun tonight. I do want to give a few minutes for everybody to kind of come in, at least get a few people in the room so we don't have to play catch up with others, because that can kind of, drag down a live stream. But it is the Black Moon, the second new moon that we are encountering in the month of December. It's in the sign of Capricorn, and this is bringing in a real interesting energy. So we plan what we're going to do here. Hello, good to see you, Jennifer. Welcome. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and put you up there just to open this up to show people that this is going to be more of an interactive experience here. Good to see you. I can always count on you showing up. There's always the usual crew that kind of rolls on through, so it's fun. I like doing lives, it's been a while since I've done it. It wasn't that I didn't want to do lives, it's just my streaming service posed some challenges, and so I kind of backed off of it for a little bit, but I plan on doing a lot more lives in the new year. That's one of my new resolutions, to do more lives in the new year, so I'm so happy to have you here. And welcome to everybody. And this is a special subscribers only live, okay? As far as being able to activate the chat. And the reason why I'm doing that, love you too. The reason why I'm doing that is because I really feel like I wanted to say thank you to my subscribers. I wanted to say thank you to my subscribers, to my members, to the people who donated to the channel, to all the people who supported the channel. Anybody who's a content creator knows, hello, love you too. It's good to see everybody dropping in here. I'm going to bring you into the room as you come in, okay, because it does foster a real feeling of community. Vicky, we got everybody's like showing up. I love it. Hello, Vicky, welcome. So yeah, we're going to get into more of this action. I think this is good. We're at a good starting point here. So let's just dive right into it, okay? I did want to say thank you to all the supporters of the channel, because anybody who is a creator knows that it's really one of those things that it does take a village, and it's all about your community. And I'm really big on community here. And I've been wanting to get back to more of this, where I can really connect with you guys and drop in with you. And I just wanted to show my appreciation by bringing back a special live, just to sort of close out the year, get us ready to move into the new year energy, and get it started on the right foot, because we're going to bring more of this action in. And I'm going to kind of let you know what we're going to do here. First of all, we're going to talk about the moon we got going on right now, and the lunar cycle is kicking off. It is an initiatory gateway. We got a black moon in Capricorn. What is a black moon? Well, it's a new moon, but it's the second new moon within a month. And we, of course, had Sagittarius open up this cycle with the new moon on December 1st that came in here. So very interesting time that we're moving through right now. Really interesting energy. I have to be honest with you, okay? It's not the best energy coming in with this particular new moon. There's some pretty rough aspects that we're dealing with here. We got Mars opposite Pluto. We also got Jupiter square Saturn. So, that right there is just a recipe for, some shies, all right? Some shies. But we don't have to be overcome by the jive here, all right? We can learn to move through things in a new way. We can learn how to work with what we got. And there was this message coming in about optics, right? Optics around this particular moon. Now, certainly, optics is this physics study of the behavior and properties of light, as well as how it interacts with matter, and how to develop certain instruments that can detect that light. And I feel like this is what we're being called to kind of do. We're kind of being called to develop our own instrument, okay, which is our vessel or our reality tunnel, our way of seeing our life, seeing the situations we face, seeing the challenges that come up for us in a new way, where we can perceive the light in this situation more than we are kind of honed into the aspects that maybe move us into more shadowy territory. Now, there is the piece here where we do have the new moon, Keen 6, Jupiter, which is a positive aspect. But I have to tell you, when you're looking at that action with Mars opposite Pluto, Jupiter square Saturn, I mean, those energies kind of override that beneficent influence. But we do have a little help, okay? There is a little help at hand, and it's coming in from an alignment with the dwarf planet Quaoar. And it's coming in a really tight aspect at 0 degrees, just 3 minutes into 0 degrees. So this is pretty potent energy. In fact, it's a powerful influence. Now, what does the dwarf planet Quaoar bring? It does bring an influence that's similar to Pluto, okay? I can hear you guys kind of like, oh no, not more Pluto energy. But it's different. It's a little bit different, all right? It's different in the sense that it's more focused on looking at that shadowy material through more of like a spiritual lens to really grok what is the philosophical meaning of this situation? What is the deeper current that's running through my life and what I'm facing here? And how can I work with it in such a way where I can dip into the collective consciousness in such a way that I'm thinking of how can we be fueled forward, you know, with what we're working with here, with this sort of raw material we got. And how can we move forward in a more progressive way? What is it going to take? Can we look at things in a different way? And Quaoar does support our attunement to building the light. And so I think we're going to work with this energy a bit. I am going to light a candle. I am going to, at a certain point, ask you all to sort of put where you want to see growth or expansion in your life, and we'll put it all into the candle, all of your intentions. And this way, you all can bring your energy into this too. If you got a candle at home, when I go to light that, you can light it too and be part of generating that light. I like it to be a community affair, and this is something that's just being done as a way to really work with the elementals to hold an intention, okay? So it doesn't have to work against whatever your personal spiritual path is, all right? I like to make these experiences that we have as a community wide open so it can really address a broad perspective and a broad community with many different diverse feelings, beliefs, perspectives, you know, all of that. And it's very important to me that this is a space that feels welcoming to everybody, all right? So just want to kind of get that out of the way. Let's dive a little bit more into this energy, though. We're going to get sort of a baseline read of the overarching themes coming in here. And then I do want to do a little quest read for us just about the energy that's opening up for us with this lunar cycle. Now, this lunar cycle will be fulfilled. It will come to its culmination point with the first full moon of the year that's arriving in the sign of Cancer on the 13th. I was hoping it would be a Friday the 13th because that just would have tickled me, but it's a Monday. It's a Monday, but that's okay, right? So we got the earth energy coming in here with the cardinal Capricorn, right? It's nice because the seeds you sort of plant at this time with your intentions, the light that you choose to build in your life, it will find growth and nurturing when we arrive at that full moon. It is a water moon. It's also a water moon that's associated with the sign of Cancer. And the sign of Cancer is all about there's no place like home. So this is sort of like figuring out where you belong. It's also like that nourishing of mama's milk. So what we need to carry the vision forward, the practicalities will start to show up on the scene. We'll find the support for dreams we want to seed at this time. So a lot of times when we're seeding a dream and we're about to move into more of an expansive or progressive cycle, it can be a little rough when you're first starting out. That's the way it is with anything. When you're opening up to new experiences, right? You might fumble a bit, you might stumble a bit. You might not know all the details of how you're moving forward, but if you have an inspiration if you have the optics of an inner vision, that can do a lot to propel you forward in the right way. And then even when you do bump up against rough stuff, you can sort of change your optics as far as how you're viewing those challenges. You can look at them in such a way where you're saying, well, this is really giving me an opportunity to learn something new here. Or this is really giving me an opportunity to strengthen my position in a certain way by opening myself up to a new experience, or pushing myself to that edge that normally I would be too fearful to kind of step up to. But I know all the full potentiality of what I'm setting in motion here is on the other side of that fear. So at some point, when you're ready to build more light in your life, you have to take the risk to bump up against the stuff that's been kind of hiding in the dark. It's like the boogeyman hiding in the dark. But, you know, much like when you were a kid, you had this fear of what was hiding in the dark, what was hiding under the bed, what's hiding in the closet. Once you really drag it out of that hiding place, you realize like, oh, I've made the unconscious conscious, and now it doesn't rule over me. And now I have a certain authority in my life that I didn't have before. But we never get to that point where we kind of overcome that stuck place of the fear and the way it can hold us back until we're willing to walk through it. Okay. So I do encourage you, all right, to have this desire to reach for something more in your life, okay? Reach for something more in your life. This energy with Quar is very powerful in that it will unveil things to us, okay? It's going to unveil hidden energy. It's going to unveil hidden energy that's operating within us, where our frequency is at. It's also going to reveal hidden energy operating in your life, coming from others, your environment, maybe things you weren't clued into before. It's also going to reveal hidden dimensions to you. Yes, this is a little weird ass mystical shit coming in here. It is more of a spiritual influence. So do expect there to be expansion that might frighten you at times because it's unknown territory. But if you will boldly go where no one's ever gone before, you may find a certain treasure that you couldn't have come across any other way. And as I often say here, fortune does favor the bold. We don't really get to see the kind of dream activation we want to see in our lives when we're living in the safety zone. So it's about measuring the risks you take, okay? Don't abandon the wisdom you've gained from times when you were a little too impulsive and you really blew it. Because, I mean, Mars opposite Pluto? I mean, that's some pretty mean and heavy energy. Yes, I agree with you too. Yes. I'm down for it too. It's my favorite stuff, actually. I like it when things get weird. I like it when I don't understand what's going on necessarily, because I know there's an adventure in store. I know that it's also giving me an opportunity for growth. And one of the things I often say to people when they feel like really confused or uncertain about their future, and they don't know the right step to take or what action they should set in motion, or even where they should just be focusing their attention, where should their optics be set? I always say, as long as you go toward the direction that inspires growth, that requires you to grow, you're not going to go wrong. Where we usually blow it is in playing it too safe, in allowing our fears, our senses of limitation to hold us back. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we need to break on through to get to the other side that will have us getting those keys that open real doors of opportunity for us in 2025. But I did want to talk a bit about the Sabian symbols as they're coming through. Let's get a bottom of the deck energy here. Do you see the transformation, what you seek? It is already with you. You don't have to search for it anywhere. It's all in your hands. That transformation you want to see, that freedom you want to see, the unfoldment, that butterfly effect that ripples out through the actions that you take, and it spreads across the collective. Yes, it is that big right now, especially with moving into the age of Aquarius. It is already with you. Number 17 coming in here. Yes, cheers. Let's toast to that. This is the energy that is associated with Aquarius. It is the star. Now, what do we know about the star when we're journeying through the territory of the star, which is where we are right now, right? We're really just at the beginning. We're just at the inception point. So what we're seeing may still be a little dark out there. We just got through the turning of the tide where now the light is going to start to grow, right? We reached that point with winter solstice. But, you know, it takes some time to sort of move out of those shadows. And sometimes the dark wants to cling. It doesn't want to give way to the light. So there is a little bit of that energy in place, certainly with Mars opposite Pluto. This is when we can kind of get ourselves pulled back into the theater of that shadow play. If we're focused too much on sort of trying to settle a score with a particular devil, right? That just keeps you in that loop. It doesn't allow you to move forward. And we may want to see really big progress, right? With Jupiter square Saturn. But the reality is it's hemmed in right now and it's for our own damn good, okay? Jupiter, you know, is kind of saying, I want more, I want bigger, I want it now. Life is a party and I just want to enjoy myself and I want to kind of embrace that Dionysian energy. Okay, Jim, I hear you. He's still hanging out. He's still been hanging out with me. And yes, there is something to say about hedonism. You know, I think we need a little hedonism in our lives, especially when we've been dealing with so much stress, so much mundane. I do think a big way to move into the progressive energy is to weave a little of that magic in our lives in measure. It's like Saturn is there as a little bit of a cautionary, especially with the square saying a little bit will do you good. Okay, a little dab will do you. You don't need to go way overboard here. That can really work against you. That's how you can end up in the penalty box, and we don't want to be in the penalty box. We're ready to move outside the box. We're ready to move beyond the borders. We're ready to color outside the lines. We're ready to look through a new sense of optics. And when I'm saying optics, I'm talking about the optics that are your belief systems. I'm talking about the optics about the way you see yourself, the optics about the way others see you, public opinion about a person, an action, a decision. And we see this really playing out in the realm of politics, okay? But it's about you getting your optics set in such a way that gives you the happiest, most hopeful, most enthusiastic vision for moving forward that you can possibly conjure up at this time. And in order to embrace that kind of energy, you got to play. You have to play. You have to kind of defy what your present circumstances may be telling you. You got to have a different kind of view. And that view is about what's possible, especially when we're looking at that energy of the star, right? Because what gets the star to that transformation point? What gets the star to the other side of that darkness they're moving through, that longest, darkest night, you could say, of the soul? It doesn't come in unless there's something to sort of wish for, dream for, hope for, set our sights on. And usually that's a source of what we believe will bring light into our life. But there's also the need here with Saturn in Pisces in tandem with this energy of Pluto in Aquarius, that we don't get too stuck to that, right? That we allow ourselves to have a sense of revisioning, reinvention, alterations in our chosen path. Go on side quests here and there. There's a piece that's really been coming in recently, in recent months, about the journey is way more important than the destination right now. And there may be times that you kind of bemoan that because you just want to get to the finish line. You want to get to where you want to go. But if you jump ahead, it's not going to be all that it could be for you if you really just appreciate even what the challenges are trying to show you, or where you do feel like a little bit held back, you know, how that can be something that can work for you and not against you, right? So that's a way of needing to shift our optics for moving forward to the future. And what does it mean to focus our optics on the light and building the light when we feel like we're moving through a lot that's uncertain? We feel like we're just drudging through the dark. Yes, I agree. That's what it's about. This really helped me too, right? To just let go of timing, right? Why does it have to be on a timeline when we're so focused on the timing of things and we think things need to move according to our time map we got laid out there? There's so much that we miss in the present, and there's so much opportunity we miss, just drinking in the moment and what it's offering us. It doesn't have to be a negative. And that brings me to the Sabian symbol that is coming in with this moon with Capricorn at 9 degrees. The Sabian symbol is an angel carrying harp. And the meaning of this Sabian symbol is it's a revelation of the deeper purpose. It's a way to access spiritual meaning at the center of any matter. And it's here to attune us. It's here to attune us to love, harmony, and beauty. So I think that's pretty good, right? But you can't really attune to love, harmony, and beauty if you're still kind of mired in the minutia of drama, of what so-and-so did, of what happened back there, of all the pain that you want to sit and nurture, because I have to say it, okay? And I'm not saying it in a way, I really want to clarify that I'm not saying it in such a way to cast any kind of judgment or shame on anyone, because healing takes its own time, right? There can be no time limit put on how long it takes you to integrate an experience, on how long it takes you to heal something. But that being said, you do not need to stay in that place of processing every single second of your life. You have to create space where you can get a break from all the processing. There has to be space where you can rest. There has to be space where you can restore. There has to be little cracks made where the light can get through. And you can see that this is just sort of like a chrysalis state I'm in. I'm sort of just waiting to break through that cocoon, or I'm waiting to break through that shell. And I know on the other side, there's new life with whatever I'm going through. So this piece is really important, really important. And we're meant to attune to that energy. Well, how do we do that, right? How do we do that if we're dealing with a lot of heavy stuff, or if we haven't gotten to that place where we're like, I'm just going to be able to move with whatever comes my way because I'm not going to be so attached to it. And yeah, when I'm feeling down, or when I feel kind of like frustrated because I feel held back, and that takes me back into that sort of place where I feel sort of mired in the muck and I'm moving back into the shadow energy. How can I just like let just a little glimmer of light through in that space? It's not whitewashing it. It's not denying what you feel. But let's be honest. Let's all be honest with each other at this point. We've all held a lot of space for the heavy stuff. We have. With the energy we've been moving through with Pluto. We've been moving through this energy for a long, long time now. So how can we let just like a little glimmer come through? Well, that's through the means of expansion. The means of expansion of Capricorn 9 degrees is Gemini 13 degrees, okay? And that is a great musician at his piano. So you may be wondering, like, what are these Sabian symbols? I don't get it. Well, they're archetypal symbols. And there's different ways you can work with them. You can use them as meditation points, like an angel carrying a harp is the energy associated with this black moon in Capricorn we're dealing with. That will help you if you fixate on that image, or maybe even if you create an altar around this. This is a way you can sort of evoke that energy in your environment. So every time you see it, there's like something that sort of dings in your awareness that says, I want to hone my optics in on the deeper purpose or the spiritual meaning of what I'm going through right now, what's coming up for me. That alone invites a little light in, because it's a shift in perspective. You know, there's a lot of beauty that can be created when there's the play of shadow between light, right? You see that in photography. You see that in film. It can have great cinematic value. And so maybe this is the way you can kind of look at your life too. It's like, oh, the light is so much brighter. It's so much more brilliant when it's playing off sort of that deeper shadow aspect of the current of what's running through my life. See, there's a way you can see the beauty even in what appears to be darkness, understanding that it's just a place of germination. It's just where the seeds are sown of future dreams. Yes. And this is important, right? This is important because let's talk about what light means. We got the ghost of regret here. The ghost of regret. How do we develop regret? How do we get haunted by the ghost of regret? Regrets come from fear. They come from those places inside of us that were held back from taking certain actions, for stepping through certain doors of opportunity, through trying our hand at something that we've never done before because we were afraid. And then we kind of like kick ourselves down the road because we're like, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. So how do we avoid being haunted by the ghost of regret? Or worse yet, allow the ghosts of regret from 2024 to trail behind us and continue to haunt us and hound us in the new year? Well, we have to shift our optics to building the light. So what is light? People think of light and they have a lot of connotations that come through, right? They have a lot of optics around that word light itself. The light, the dark, the light is good, the dark is bad, right? It's all the programming. So this is about shifting the way you view what light is as well. Here's some little keywords that can help you in shifting that perspective. Light is creative. It's creative energy. Light is action. Light is action. Light is clarity. Light is vision. Light is open. Light is illuminating. Light is clear. It makes everything clear where they were aspects that we were dealing with that were once sort of shrouded and we couldn't quite make them out, or they were sort of hazy. Light will make things clear. And light is levity. Light is laughter. Light is play. And light is the heart that finds the way through. So these are good points to kind of tie in. And it's funny because there's an interesting story that came through, a musical story that came through that I want to share in relation to this means of expansion, which is a great musician at his piano. Okay, so again, you could have a picture of a musician you admire that plays the piano, and you could have that like on a vision board, and that will help you evoke that Sabian symbol, or you can create an altar around it, or you can meditate on that image. It's all about aspiration and inspiration. That's what is the means of expansion with this energy, with this new moon, leading up to the full moon in Cancer on the 13th of January, the first full moon of the year. Okay, so we can really get this started with a bang through elevating our aspirations. And through doing so, not only do we find inspiration, but we also will inspire others. So it's an energy that moves into that territory of the Aquarian age where we are bringing things into being that have a ripple effect. It's for the collective consciousness, right? It's not just for us. It's something that will inspire all. See, because when we really aspire to great heights, when we aim high, when we put regret behind us and we thumb our nose at fear, what ends up happening is we learn through the process that we will inspire others by just being brave enough to go for it. You know, people get held back by so many fears, like, but what if I fail? Or what if it doesn't work out? I love the imagery coming through here. You know, we can view it as scary, but yet there's protection here. There's protection as we move into unknown territory. And it's really interesting because we've been working a lot with that energy of good old Jackal Frosty, who covers up the trail that leads to your destiny. He's a little bit of a trickster energy, but Jackal Frosty is also associated with the Jack-o'-lantern. So you see, even if you do lose your way a bit, Even if you do fall for some tricks here, ultimately you're protected along the way. You have no idea how much spiritual support comes through when you're brave. You know, people who are too fearful find themselves facing a lot of spiritual challenge, and it's because you're here to learn. You're here to grow. You're here to move into greater expansion. So if you're in a position where you're fearful, then you tend to hold yourself back too much. And then more difficult experiences have to kind of come your way to get you sort of up off your butt and moving into action. And once you take that risk and you're like, okay, I'm afraid or I'm uncertain, but I'm going to push through it and I'm going to move forward, you'll find it's not so scary after all. There's a lot of protection here to guide you along the way. And see, you do have the strength that you need to overcome the challenges of the past. You do. You just have to change your optics where you can look at yourself and view yourself as a strong person, not take on the projections of other people or what their judgments may be about you. It doesn't matter. How do you feel about yourself? Once you shift this sort of perspective, do you see? Look at that full moon energy that will be coming in. Yes, create a little bubble to hold your vision. Infuse it with the energy of the light that you want to call in. This is a really simple way you can do this. It's a real simple way you can change your optics. Every morning when you get up, take like 5 minutes. Just take a few deep breaths and close your eyes and maybe tune into that energy of those Sabian symbols. Invite the muse to come in and just let yourself play, all right? Surround yourself with a big bubble, like the kind of bubble you would have blown as a child when you were, sitting there with your little wand and you were outside looking at the elements and just getting in touch with the simple pleasures of life, right? Put up one of those bubbles around you. Make it as big as you want to. You can make it so big that it surrounds the entire earth if you want to, but it's your energy, right? It's your energy you're raising here, and you're contributing to the building of life, or the energy that you want to contribute to the collective. And then fill it. Fill it with the light, fill it with your dreams, fill it with things that just inspire playfulness in you, happiness in you, optimism in you, things that you dream of, maybe even dreams that you're recovering from childhood. Bring them in. Nothing's too silly, nothing's too outlandish. And then just sort of set the intention that this bubble that you're mocking up here, it's going to be with you for 24 hours until you reset it again the next morning. You will be amazed at how it shifts your life, because you're walking around carrying a new kind of frequency here. And everybody you interact with will be kind of like attuning to a new frequency in you. And some people might have very different reactions to you than they're used to having. You may find yourself having very different experiences than you normally have. You'll also find that when you work with this energy in such a way, you're harmonizing with the energy that's out there in the multiverse. And so you're becoming that thing that is very magnetizing to what you fill that bubble with. And you'll actually see the illumination of this with that full moon that comes in Cancer on the 13th, if you play your cards right. And play is the operative word here, okay? It is about playing. It is about having fun, right? Let yourself move into the expansion of it and just dream up some infinite possibilities, okay? So let's look at these optics. Where are we needing to shift things? Where do we need to break on through to the other side so we can tap those infinite possibilities and the potential? I'll give you some key words here, okay? I like to make things really simple, just key words, things that sort of encapsulate energy, so they can be meditation points for you, reflection points for you, and you can carry them forward with you. And they'll really serve you well because they'll help unlock those places inside of you. The way these different words speak to each of us is a little bit different, and we each have different paths we're walking. But all of us, in working through this energy, we can find a way through to break through the other side. So we need to break on through the other side of limitation. Ooh, and with that, yes. Look at that, scrying. Kind of funny. Another bubble coming through here. Yes, we need to break on through the limitation. How? By accessing our own intuition here, okay? Your intuition will guide you into the true source of your limitations. Now, often we think that limitations are coming from outside of us. Well, I feel limited because this person is doing this. I feel limited because I'm working at this particular job and it only provides me so much opportunity for growth, or I feel limited by time. I feel limited by circumstance. But is that really the source of the limitation? Just sit with it, okay? How can you break through limitation? Where are you feeling limited? This is a good beginning point to sort of like explore, right? Begin your exploration. Okay, ready? Next thing we need to break on through to is break on through to the other side of greed. I mean, this is the rough stuff, right? This is the stuff being highlighted with Mars opposite Pluto, Jupiter square Saturn. But this stuff has potential to be the fertilizer for what grows from new insights. Taking what's been hiding out in the root cellar, making the subconscious conscious. How? Bringing it up into the light of awareness. You see, it's an internal process before the light is ever revealed outside of ourselves. So we have to locate the place of limitation within us that is set to that optic of limitation. So if you feel like, oh, I'm not getting enough, you know, I don't have enough, which do you see how it can lead? One leads to the other, right? If you feel limited, then you move into more of an energy of greed. You hoard things. You hold on to things. You won't let anything go. Not your emotions, not your arguments, not your resentments, not your regrets, maybe even stuff in your environment. You got your house full of all kinds of crap that meant something to you at one time, but it's just sitting there, taking up space, blocking channels for new things to come in, new things to flow into your life, right? So really, when you're looking at these different words that I'm bringing in here, different keywords, really hone in on the optics of that. Look at it from many different perspectives. Look at it from a mental standpoint, an emotional standpoint, a spiritual standpoint, and also a physical standpoint in terms of your body, in terms of your environment, in terms of your connections. Okay. Well, when we go to selfishness, right, which is a natural extension of greed, well, then we move to a place of intolerance, right? Hello, evening, blessings, Melissa. Melissa always shows up. I'm bringing everybody in the room as they bring their voice in. When we move to that place of intolerance, right, well, then we're really done for. Because we limit the scope of our effectiveness in life. If we let everything bother us, if we let everything offend us, if we let every different action that a person's taking that's not in harmony with, well, I wouldn't do it like that, or I wouldn't have said that, or I wouldn't have made that choice to go in that direction, or I don't like the way you look at that. I think you should look at things the way I look at things, okay? Then we move into a place of intractability. And then nothing happens. Then we're in a place of being real stuck, right? And what have I been bringing in quite a bit? I always bring it in. I brought it in for a long time. It's a quote that I really like. It's a quote that I appreciate. Yes, let us clear our throats, okay? This is something we really need to bring forward. We need to bring the light into Vishuddha. We need to bring our light into the throat chakra. The throat chakra is not just about the words we use, the way we communicate, but it's also about aligning with our purpose here, okay? So we need to bring the light into this space too. Just being mindful of the words we speak. What are we speaking into existence? How are we communicating with others? How are we communicating about our certain perspective? Do we communicate in such a way where we allow others to have their voice too, where we allow others to have their voice, their perspective, their viewpoint, their say? Or do we feel like we have to be intolerant and override that and try to shut that down? And understand, when we live in a climate like that with so much intolerance, what ends up happening is that we really become gridlocked. And then we move into extremes, okay? And this is the next key: extremes, polarization, okay? These are also things that are areas where we need to break on through to the other side. So what is the opposite of going to extremes? It's finding the balancing point, right? The center point. Not too much this, not too much that. Moderation is really hard for most people. We're not hardwired that way. That's not the way we're programmed by society. We're programmed to go for more, more, more. It always has to be more, you know? We're programmed to not understand moderation at all. You know, we're supposed to always be striving, but you can't really thrive if you're always hell-bent on surviving the rat race, or you got that competitive mindset, okay? And there's also not a way through to understanding if we're so extreme that we can't even be more focused in our optics on looking for, well, but okay, I get it. We see things differently. We have a different view. We have a totally different perspective. It may be like night and day. But where can we find a point of understanding? And this at first doesn't even involve you having to have a conversation with somebody. You can just sort of sit there and go, okay, I really don't like what so-and-so is doing. I don't like the way they talk about things. I don't like the way they view the situation. I don't agree with them. But where can I find the point of connection? I don't care how little it is, what little of a point it is, right? Where can I find a point of connection? If we focus on the points of connection, that's when we start to move out of polarization, right? Breaking through polarization means that we have to find a way where the two points that seem separate do come back together again. Where there's divergence, where does it come back together again? So there's something that can create a way through. Because there's not going to be a way through unless we all find a way through at this point. Ultimately, yes, it's a lofty vision. But we have to first begin to sort of access these states of consciousness within ourselves. And this is the thing: the more that we generate light within ourselves and open up to these different perspectives, the more we're contributing that to the collective energy, because it is all one. The more that has a butterfly effect, the more light is generated, the more lights are turned on in the attics of others. And then before you know it, you got a revolution. Emphasis on the evolution aspect, okay? Ooh, that's a hotbed word, right? Right there, that's a good word too. Sit with revolution. What comes up in you when you hear that word? What are the optics of that? What kind of programming comes in around that? There's a reason why I usually put it with the hashtag little r, big uppercase EVOLUTION, because that's what turns the I on to the collective consciousness, and we all get to evolve. It's not destructive. It's cathartic, right? It's getting a new perspective. So the way we reduce the burden, right, of all this that is holding us back and keeping us from really feeling the fulfillment of what our soul longs for, okay? Because you need to change the optics around your soul longings too. Those feelings you have that it's not enough, I need more, I don't feel complete, I don't feel fulfilled, I don't feel like I'm living on purpose. Longing, 44 on the clock. Longing is also a way that we are held back. There's only one way to shift longing, and that is to answer the call. You have to start moving in the direction of what you long for in whatever way you can. And so if it just begins with you creating a little bubble of energy around you so you can align with the same frequency, And you can start having those sort of like signposts through synchronicities show up on your path. That's a good way to start. It's not too small, okay? This is all about, a fixed hand is a losing hand. And when we have a fixed hand, what we're holding on to is we're holding on to the thorns. If you fall into, a thorn bush, right? You're going to be stuck there for a while. It's going to be painful. It's going to be tricky to get out of that, right? When you let go, right? And maybe that's how your forgiveness starts. I know for me, that has been like a lifesaver in my own situation when I've dealt with things that were hard to let go of, where I felt really justified, in holding on to my anger, or I felt really justified in holding on to my grief. And it can become a place we make a home. It can be. I found so much empowerment and relief when I stopped looking through the optic of forgiveness only looks like I'm okay with everything that happened. And I'm telling that person, it's all right. We're all good now. Okay. When I shifted my optic to being, no, you know what? Sometimes forgiveness is just letting it all go, releasing attachment to any of it, and a full acknowledgement that this happened. Yes, these are all my feelings around it. Okay. And now I have that awareness that's given me some wisdom. It's given me a little pearl of wisdom that I'm going to carry forward with me in my future. So I make different choices. Okay. But I'm not going to keep processing it or holding space for that. And again, it happens in its own timing. But the more you can kind of remind yourself every time it pulls at you again to feel angry at so-and-so, or to be upset about this disappointment, or to continue to feel, bummed out because a certain opportunity passed you by. You don't know. By you holding on to that, you may be holding back the true opportunity that wants to open up for you. It's like kind of dragging your feet here, okay? So sometimes all we need to do to reduce the burden and open up to the possibility of the sweetness of the bloom that's on the other side is to just let go. That's it. It's as simple as that. Just let go. And how do you let go? Especially when you've been in this like entrenched pattern for a long time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's constant reminding yourself. Every time you go back to that place of getting all pissed off, it's like, look, that happened. You just kind of have a conversation with yourself. Hey, I get it. That happened. It was rough, okay? But what's done is done. It is what it is. And it doesn't do you any good. It's not doing you any good. It doesn't change what happened. It doesn't change the situation at all. To continue to go back to that and fuel those emotions. So what can I focus on right now? Or is there something I'm ready to do in that situation to balance it out? You may not be. And if you're not ready to address it, and you may never address it. You don't have to. You don't have to hold your process, your healing process, to anybody else's standard or what the experts tell you is the right thing to do. But the more you can find yourself in the moment, sort of keeping yourself in this repetitive loop that just anchors you in what's already done. Like there's no way to change it now. And you can kind of catch yourself and say, okay, I get it. That sucked. But I don't want to make a home in what sucks. I'm ready to have a new view. I'm ready to have a new view out that window, right? So how can I change my view and generate some light? And with that, we got the witch, the earthly weaver of the world. And you have the ability to do this. You have the ability to generate your own light. Creation is always happening, even when you can't see it. Let's prove it right now. Go ahead and if you feel so inspired, do this with me, all right? I don't tell anybody what to do, but this is a good way to sort of tap into your energy. Clap your hands together. Really rub those palms together. Get some heat going, right? And when you really feel the heat, just start to separate your hands a little bit. Can you still feel something there, even though your hands are no longer touching? Close your eyes if you have to for a moment. Just tune in and feel what you feel there. Okay, now let's take it to the next level, all right? Let's take it to the next level. Go ahead and just tune in internally for a moment. See if you can give a certain color to this ball of energy that you're building in between your palms right now. Can you give it a certain texture? Can you increase the heat? Maybe by focusing in your mind's eye on fire, a source of light. It's a form. It's already a form. And you can put anything into it. And you can even toss it up. Toss it up into the collective energy to seed your visions. Because it's all just quantum physics. Those particles are out there vibrating. And they're doing their thing. But what's really interesting is when we try to view this, right? When we're too focused on it, when we don't have the ability, right, to let go of that sweetness of the bloom that we desire, we clench to it and we hold it tight because we've already moved into that place of greed and selfishness, and we just can't let it go. We feel like if we hold on to it tighter, we'll make it so. No. Nothing can come into being until you let it go. They've studied this scientifically. They've studied this. You can't observe those particles vibrating if you're looking at it. We got to look at that action through a special device. So it's kind of interesting, right? This is about really being in the moment. You have to stay in the moment. And the more you try to sort of focus on what you want to be there, and you won't let your sort of vision move from that position of what's not here yet, you keep yourself in limitation. You keep yourself in lack. You keep yourself in the dark. But if you can just start to work with your energy, and if you can build the light and like have fun with it, play with it, make believe, work with your imagination, like kids got it right. Kids have all the keys to the kingdom, you know, and we lose them along the way because we forget that. We forget that, oh gosh, you know, I came into this world with this magic. I have the ability to do all of this. I can create while I'm here. I can play while I'm here. And there's so much about really bringing that in, and everything is a means for expansion. Everything is a means for expansion. And with this, I want to bring in the story of the song that came in, okay? So I was thinking about, you know, the new moon energy, the black moon, and how, you know, the black moon is like the second moon in a month's time. And that made me think of blue moons, right? And as I was thinking about blue moons, I started wondering, you know, if there was going to be a blue moon in January, you know, I just thought it would be an interesting like connection. So I was like, well, why is blue moon coming in for me? And then all of a sudden I heard this song come into my head, New Order's Blue Monday, right? And if you don't know about that song, it's got some pretty rough lyrics. It's got some pretty mean and heavy lyrics. And, you know, most people think that it's a song about an abusive relationship, right? So that's kind of this energy, right? This energy of this new moon that we're moving through, this black moon in Capricorn. It's Mars opposite Pluto, Jupiter square Saturn energy, that kind of like mean and heavy energy. And yeah, the lyrics, they're pretty rough, man. But it's kind of a funny song because the song is really upbeat, you know? But it's talking about something super heavy. And I will put a link to that particular song if you're not familiar with it, so you can check it out. And there may be some messages in there for you collective. But what's interesting about that particular song that's by New Order, and this is funny that New Order came in because Quar, all right, the dwarf planet, reveals to us, this is its power, it reveals to us that within disorder is the new order, a new kind of an order, right? So I thought that was so funny that the blue moon reference came in. And then I was like, oh, Blue Monday. And I was like, the moon is coming in, that full moon in Cancer is coming in on the 13th, which is a Monday in January. And so that's what got me on this track, right? This is how my brain kind of works. So it's like, oh, I wonder if it's the blue moon. So I wanted to start doing research about it, right? And it took me down this rabbit tunnel. And I found out that no, it's not a blue moon, okay? It's not a blue moon. The next blue moon will not be coming in until May 31st, 2026, okay? And it will be coming in the sign of Sagittarius. And I was like, whoa, okay, that's a trip. So there's a tie in there, right? Because this cycle with this black moon we got in Capricorn here got kicked off with Sagittarius, with their new moon. So what I'm getting, the reason why that came in is this energy is looping back around. We've got a full cycle. We're going to travel here. Whatever is getting kicked off here with this new moon in Capricorn, it will reach a full maturation point, you could say, by that blue moon. Once in a blue moon, right? You get this opportunity to have these kind of optics where you get to see a certain situation in a different way. Back to the song, right? The song appears to be about an abusive relationship. But if you talk to New Order themselves, the band New Order, and dissect different stuff that's come through in the interviews that they've done about that particular song, they can't really tell you what the song is about. They didn't really necessarily, have an agreement on what inspired the song. In fact, all of them have a little bit of a different perspective. One band member was on LSD, at the time and swears that's what inspired the song. It was all about, just this weird, random consciousness expansion moment. And it's really irrelevant to anything that was going on in their personal life. Then you'll have another person say, oh, no, it was inspired by, the Fats Domino song that I was listening to on Blueberry Hill, and that made me think of, Blue Monday. It was a Monday, and that song, it felt kind of melancholy. And I was like, well, yeah, that fits, how does it feel? How does it feel? That's the song opens up with that New Order's song, Blue Monday. How does it feel to treat me like you do? So a lot coming through in relation to relationships. Then another was like, no, it came through a particular piece of artwork that was featured in one of Kurt Vonnegut's books, okay? So there was all this stuff that came through. But the funniest perspective came through keyboardist Jillian Gilbert, okay, who said in an interview, and I quote, I accidentally left a note out when they were creating this song, right? Which skewed the melody. We bought ourselves an emulator, an early sampler, and used it to add snatches of choir-like voices from Kraftwerk's album, Radioactivity, as well as recordings of Thunder. Bernard and Steven had worked out how to use it by spending hours recording farts. And I thought that was hilarious because how childish, right? How childish, how playful. And yet it's such a key part of the melody of that song, the harmonizing of that song, the tuning of that song. And it came through something so silly and ridiculous and childish. And then in terms of the optics or the perspective about how did this song come into being, nobody agrees. It's a mystery. All of them have different memories about it. All of them have different perspectives about it. Does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. It's one of the songs they're most known for, in fact. And it's been remade many, many, many times by many different artists. So kind of interesting energy that came in with. So yes, this is quite an initiatory time we're moving through. And I have to say, there is a really important path opening up with that full moon in Cancer that comes in on the 13th. It will definitely be a path that comes to a culmination point by the time you reach that blue moon on the 31st. I just made that correlation. The 13th, the moon in Cancer is coming in on the 13th of January. And it's like the opposite, right? It's like the energy flip, 31 of May in Sagittarius. Yes, all things come around again and are seen in a new way. Now, if you read the lyrics to that song, you know, you may be dealing with a situation like that. And there may be something coming in around that full moon on the 13th of January that sort of like opens a road to a path. It's like a long journey of getting a different perspective in a relationship, getting a different perspective about how you see that person, how you see that situation. It could even be a situation where you felt like somebody had too much power over you, or you blamed them a lot, or you had a lot of resentment, or whatever it may be. And then by the time you get to the end of the journey, it might just kind of equate to, you know, all this time you spent sort of festering on this instead of actually just like sort of moving forward. And if you wanted to heal the relationship, or you wanted to find a way through, or if you wanted to gain a different insight or understanding, you sort of wasted a lot of time just kind of like recording your farts to get to the masterpiece at the end. And that being said, is it so wrong if you do that? It's not, you know, whatever path you choose here, it's okay. You'll get where you need to go in time. Your path will unfold at the rate you wish for it to unfold. And if there's times that you feel like sort of sitting a little bit longer in the dark or staying a little bit stagnant, that's a choice too. But I think the thing that's the most important that is coming through in this particular cycle is that the focus is really on understanding that you're the generator of that, you know, any choice you make. And if you are dealing with something that's harsh, that's difficult, if you are dealing with something that's unjust, if you do find yourself in a situation where you truly feel like you are being held back and you don't have the power to make a different choice, you do. It's just that you've been living your life according to somebody else's optics and not your own. It's about getting a different view of yourself, right? Different view of yourself here. Right. Let me go ahead and cut the deck here on that. So that's everything I really feel like I want to bring in around this energy. And yes, see, wise seeing, wise action will help us find the way to light up what's in the dark. We'll be able to see through the illusion, through the deception, the self-deception. And once we see that, that's when we tap into the magic of the owl medicine. And we end up, wow, right where we started with 17, what is already with you. Potent, look at that. Big transformation coming in here. So before I dive into a quest read, which I really want to do, I think it'll just be fun to do a quest read and sort of see what this cycle has in store for us. I think now would be a good time to maybe just call in that light, you know, and let it build while we sit here together. So if you'd like to, feel free to go ahead and just drop a comment saying where you want to like generate light in your life, where you're wanting to invite some expansion into your life, and we'll bring it in together. I already got a candle here, and I got it all charged up. And maybe I'll also sort of bring in a little Reiki here, maybe do a little cleansing. But we like to do a little cleansing work, sort of get all the old energy cleared out. Let's do that. Let's do that. You can always drop your comments while we're doing this too. I like this idea. Okay, let's first begin by sort of like clearing out the old funk from the past year. I got this dragon's blood sage bundle here. Dragon's blood is really good for purification. It's excellent for warding. It's excellent for lifting heavy energy, but it's also protective, and it can bring in blessings and bring in wish fulfillment. So I think this is a good way to start here. Let me just clear the energy for all of us. Just send out this energy, generate a little light for the collective by maybe facilitating a little bit of clearing of the view ahead, so some of those more shadowy aspects can fall behind. Let's get a nice, good flame going here. Oh, that's good. Clearing out the ghost of regret, sending the ghost of regret away with its walking papers. It's not coming forward with us in 2025. It's going to wipe that energy clear. Clearing away all sense of limitation within and without. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and bring yours in as you post it. Abundance, movement, and exploration. Yes, let's call in the abundance. Let's call in movement. Let's call in exploration. And let's cleanse away our sense of lack, our sense of limitation. Let's cleanse away that concept of being stuck from our consciousness, of being trapped at the crossroads, trapped in a bardo. Let's cleanse away the part inside of us that feels too timid to explore. Okay, and go ahead and bring you in, Melissa, here. All right. Moving negative energy out of relationships, so there can be a finding of purpose. That's a beautiful one. I like that. Like being empowered where the energy isn't so entangled in the other, right? Where you don't allow the negative energy to kind of put you in a bound state. That's really important too. Let's bring in a little bit more here as well. Let's get some more clearing energy generated around this. Many of us are working through, relationship stuff. There's a lot going on in communication, in relationships, ways that we need to learn how to communicate better, how we need to strive to understand each other better, ways to learn new modes of communication with each other. And also new ways to relate to one another where we don't become so enmeshed, where each can still, have their own independence, their own agency, where it's about moving into that energy of choosing, choosing to share the path with each other rather than feeling like bound, right, by obligation. And sometimes we can kind of tie ourselves to another because, it feels like a grounding point that can give us a sense of purpose. But in other ways, it can limit us from really exploring like our own path and its opportunities and what it offers us. Let's cleanse away the places where we're not able to see clearly, where we have doubt, where we've taken on what isn't ours to hold. Okay. And if you didn't want to put it out there in the comments, that's okay too. Okay. Just hold the intention and just know that it's being seated in this energy that we're sharing here in this space. And whatever your highest visions are and most inspired hopes that you aspire to, let's just clear all sense of limitation or obstacles being in the way and open up to the possibility that maybe, just maybe, the impossible is possible, all through you. Okay? Like that energy. I think I want to also bring in a little sweetness too. Bring in a little bit of sweet energy now to just sort of support that expansion. I love this. Yes. You got some cinnamon here. Cinnamon is attracting, cinnamon is magnetizing, it's warming, it's sweet. Let's just invite in a little bit more of that sweetness, more of that magnetizing energy. It draws in more of the sweet tastes in life, the warming experiences that move us out of the cold. There we go. And then I'm going to bring in a little Reiki too, just to support you with my selenite here. All right, so if you wish to receive it, simply say, yes, I accept, I receive, or, just like, yeah, let it in, man. And if you don't say yes, it won't be taken on by you. That's how Reiki works. There has to be energetic agreement, right? So I'm going to go ahead and bring this in just to offer some further support. It's kind of giving you a little bit of a power up here to boost your energy. Okay. And let's bring in some energy that transcends the confines of time. This is bringing in energy that's able to travel back to the past, to balance things out. And it's energy that can support your growth in the present. And it also is directed into the future to send a message to your future self, which somewhere out there on the quantum field already exists, is already living that dream. So let's just use this to send a message to that future version of yourself that's already living in that reality, that potentiality you want to call in, and let it be like a light signal for them to send you clues about what you need to do to shift your present circumstances. What different choices do you need to make to send you signs, synchronicities coming through on your path? You may just meet your future self. You may find by the time you get to that blue moon on May 31st, 2026, that you actually are like, whoa, I finally became that future self. Right? Spend a little extra time with that one. Okay, now we're going to call in a little emotional healing, emotional balancing, emotional support. Yes. I love this. Jennifer says, I'm moving into my best timeline. I'm living in my best timeline. I love that. Yes. And see, that's the thing. Like, that's such a great intention right there. I love that intention because it really does change your optics of your present situation, right? Even if you're dealing with something challenging, if you're affirming that to yourself, then you're actually seeing like whatever is showing up in your environment or whatever you're dealing with is actually what's needed to get you to your best timeline. And then you can view it a little bit differently, right? It's a different way of approaching things. I often do that, you know. I let myself have my moments, right? Where if I'm really frustrated about something, I let myself feel frustrated. I don't ignore what I feel, but I don't stay stuck there, you know. Once I let myself really go into the center of what I feel, I acknowledge it. Then I change my optics and I say, how can this really be working for me? How is this actually something that's to my advantage? And it really does change absolutely everything. Just bringing in some emotional balance just to help us stay in that place of spontaneity, responding, spontaneity, responding spontaneously with spontaneity. Yes. Staying out of that place of reactiveness that does tend to create a lot of gridlock, right? All right, and let's just protect it all, seal it off with some protection here. Okay. I want to work with you just a moment with this, okay? I'm actually going to help just sort of free you from some of that stuff that may be tethering you a little bit here, all right? I want to get nice and centered with you here, right? Continue to work with that Reiki I called in. As I'm doing this, you can focus on what you are looking to release. So you don't need to put it in the comments. Just let it be just an internal process. Just focus on what you're looking to be freed from, where you're looking to experience a letting go. You know? So we can really just clear out those burdens and you can find a sense of internal freedom here that will be reflected in the way your path shifts before you. We want to move into the new year with the wind at our backs and the road rising up to meet us. So think of all those words that we brought in earlier. What is needed to break on through to the other side? What is being seen as an obstacle, a roadblock, something that is inhibiting you from having the kind of experience you want to be having? What is inhibiting you from being on that timeline that offers you the greatest fulfillment? Let's get it cleared out so you don't have to wait to jump on it, but you can live it right now. It's like that piece that Jennifer brought in. It's just so perfect. It's a kind of an interesting reflection point, right? So if you think of that, if you say to yourself, I'm living in my best timeline, what parts inside of you kind of argue with that? Well, no, I'm not, because dot, 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 right? Those are good things to kind of bundle up, bundle up to release. Let's get them all bundled up to be released, because I'm going to do something to help clear that out for you. Okay. So go ahead and focus on that bundle, everything you gathered together. What you're ready to release. And let's just go ahead and pull it out at the root. Let's just make it easy. Let's reduce the burden. And then we'll get you a little power up, a little level up as you open up the year and create the space for something new to take root there, something of beauty. All right. And if you want me to take it from you, to cast aside, if you want the energy to come in to support you in that, say yes, okay? And it's okay if you don't want me to. If you want to just hold on to it for a little bit longer because you feel there's things you need to integrate, that's okay too. But if you are ready to release it, just say yes, I won't do anything without your permission. I'm just gonna loosen its hold on you there. Take a deep breath in and exhale through your mouth with force. And one more time, deep breath in. Exhale through your mouth with force. One more time. We'll be breaking on through the other side there. Oh, yes, that feels a lot better. Oh, it feels a lot lighter. Oh, moon of Alabama, we now must say goodbye. We've lost our good old mama and must have whiskey. Oh, you know why. Yes. Oh, it feels, ooh, that feels so much lighter. That feels so much lighter, so much brighter. I like the energy already feels amplified, okay? And let me just go ahead and just seal that off with some protection that will ward your most ambitious, brightest visions. All right. Okay, that feels good. I think that feels good. So I'm going to go ahead and light this, okay? And you can just focus on sort of sending. If you don't have a candle to light yourself, that's okay. You can just send your intention, you know, you can even just, you know, put it in a little ball of energy and you can direct it this way to the flame to hold that energy of where you're looking to bring in growth, lightness of being, expansion, your very best timeline, how to root it in the present, how to call it in so you can move forward with ease and joy and levity and fun in the new year, okay? And I'm just gonna call in a little blessing around that as I light this. It's a blessing that is, I believe it's from the Navajo tradition, and it invokes the beauty path. Oh, yes, I love this. Restore and renew. Yes, restore and renew. Okay. I light this candle on behalf of the collective and all who are willing to receive this blessing, as well as take upon themselves the determination to focus on building the light in their life, to open up the road to the beauty path. With beauty before us, we walk. With beauty behind us, we walk. With beauty above us, we walk. With beauty all around us, we walk. It has become beauty again. 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 Yes. And I charged up this candle so good before I came on for this live. So there's a lot of, you know, real good energy put into this candle. And I will let that Remain lit until it burns all the way out, just to hold that energy with you. Hold that energy with you. Yes, blessings to all here now and to come. And absolutely, if you're not catching the live, it doesn't matter. Time is just a belief construct, okay? Go ahead, bring in your intentions, receive the Reiki. You will find that, you know, it does translate and it is timeless, all right? So you are most welcome, Vicky. I'm so happy to see you here, Vicky. You've been with me for a long time. You've always been like a really good support. I really appreciate you. Cheers. Should we do a little quest read? Do we want to do a quest read? Do we feel like we got it in us to do a quest read? I kind of want to do something a little bit spicy here. I have angels and impious combined. Yes, out with the old, in with the new. Okay, every moment is brand new. What do we got on the bottom of the deck here? Ooh, yes, High Priestess, success. Protection from magistrates. We won't be held down by the man. We're creating a more magical way forward. We're trusting our intuition. We're trusting our inspiration. We have access to secret knowledge, hidden knowledge that is even stirring within the cauldron of us now. And it leads us to a sweet reward with the Ace of Pentacles. And there's divine blessing and protection around this, I have to say. Drives away evil spirits as well that could spoil the crop and all that wants to grow for our future. So that's quite a fruitful start, I have to say there. Oh, you had a candle. Excellent. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is if you didn't have a candle on you, I'm having to shuffle these a little bit differently than I normally do because it's a really big deck because I combine the occult tarot with the angel tarot there. If you come to this later, and you want to light a candle and sort of do a vigil, go for it, man. It's all interconnected. This download coming in here, even if you come to this download, a year later, maybe you arrive at this download at the time of that blue moon on May 31st, 2026. It's all gravy, baby. It's timeless, okay? It's just an energy signature. So whenever you tap into that flow, it's the right time. And yes, please do. More of you that want to light a candle, whenever you want to light it, even if you light it a week from now, whatever, it doesn't matter, okay? I think it's a really good way to very simply just kind of unify our energy with a focus. And I did bring in, I have a couple downloads actually about this concept. One is about the great attractor, and it gets very like physics oriented. And I talk about like building the light as a community and the way we can move with that creative energy as a sort of a unit, where we're holding a certain focus, even though we each have our own like expressions of it. And then the other one was a more recent read that I had done. I'll make sure after this airs live to put in some cards and put in some playlists and things like that. So there can be different rabbit tunnels you can go exploring in. You could say they can help you expand on this message coming in. But I like that as that's coming out, the basis of our quest forward looks like we're breaking free, man. We're breaking on through to the other side. So this is some positive energy here right out the gate. I like it. I like it. So let's first look at what is this quest about? What is coming in for us in this lunar cycle? Right now, we're looking at this particular lunar cycle, which starts now officially and will be leading us up to that full moon, the wolf moon, the pathfinder moon that comes in on Monday, the 13th of January in the sign of Cancer. And it will nourish, it will water that seed that we just planted here tonight. So it'll be interesting to see what things sprout up and how the road opens for each of you. And if you feel like sharing your stories down the road, I'd love to hear about it. But Let's get on this. Let's see, what are we dealing with this lunar cycle? What quest are we dealing with here? Because we just entered a gateway of initiation. Okay, it's going to come to its culmination on the 13th of January. So let's see what magic we're going to make happen in this little interim here, right? Right, I think that's good. That feels good. Bottom of the deck energy, basis of this quest. We got a Queen of Pentacles here. Makes one wise and teaches everything. Can turn any metal into gold. Transmutes water into wine. Well, it looks like we definitely have some kind of activation here. We have some kind of alchemical moment here. We're using the wisdom from the basis of the experiences we've been through to make very, very informed choices, informed by not just the sort of like brain smarts, right? But also that spiritual perspective that comes in, a new way of sort of seeing our situation in this lunar cycle. It does teach us something that maybe we are meant to pass on to others as well. See, this is the thing. Each of us has something we can teach another, every single one of us. I think we're really about dismantling the gurus, the outside authority figures as we're moving through this lunar cycle. And I think in general, the Aquarian age is very much harmonious with that kind of energy. The reality is we're all here learning, we're all here growing, and we're all here to fulfill our own lessons in this school of life. And we also each are teachers and we teach each other. There's something valuable that we each have to share with each other. So I feel like there's something here about really discovering what you do have to share, what you do have to teach others, what contribution you have to offer will be revealed to you. It's based on your wisdom. And it's not just that sort of like soul's gold from the things that you have refined within yourself. But I do feel like this is sort of like the basis of what's about to create your own kind of miracle in your life. To me, this Queen of Pentacles energy coming out here is really coming through as the activation of the alchemist. So there's something you're transforming here. There's something you're transforming here. And you may be finding favor with others that at one point you were really at odds with them too. So there might be somebody who used to be somebody that you considered like a bit of a foe, a bit of a nemesis, or it could even be an aspect of yourself that maybe you didn't value before, you didn't recognize its worth or what it has to teach you and how that teaching can also extend to others. I feel like there's something here where there's almost like a reunification point. You're finding favor not just with people that will come on your path as allies, but there may be somebody coming around here that's going to be communicating with you that sees you in a different way. And maybe you'll see them in a different way as a result too. There's favor here. There's a new way of communicating too that's opening up. You're understanding each other in ways that you didn't understand before. I don't feel like this will really come in until that full moon on the 13th in Cancer. But once this path opens, I feel like there's a lot of movement forward with the Eight of Wands energy here. Somebody in this situation was sort of gridlocked, okay? They were in this position where they kind of cut off their nose to spite their face, you know? They got a little too prideful here. They were too much in their vanity. And in that, there's something that they learned along the way that gives a different insight. So I do feel like there's a coming around here with another. It looks like you're really holding this Queen of Pentacles energy. You know, that's like that pre-empress, pre-emperor energy. There is something you're transforming here. It could even be an aspect within yourself, you know, where you realize that maybe you didn't have the full view of a situation, but in getting the wisdom of looking at it in a new way, you realize, I just got the keys to the kingdom, because it's almost like as soon as you arrive at this alchemical point of a new understanding, it opens up the road to the manifestation of something that could not be possible before. There could be a reunion energy coming in here. There will be a lot of change in the opening of 2025. I do feel by the time we arrive in March, it keeps coming through so strongly. By the time we enter March, you're really going to be seeing a lot of progress. Like the process of unfoldment will be speeding up at that time. So do look for like a lot coming in through communication. And that's also communication within yourself, just sort of insights you're having, different ways you're looking at situations, the ways that you're viewing others, different ways that you're also expressing yourself, communicating, getting your point across. Interesting. Okay, give me more information about this quest that we're entering here. Okay, we've got a crossing energy. Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, this is interesting. So there's sort of like, this is the energy that's crossing. It's coming through as King of Swords, air sign energy. Air sign energy, something that is being revealed to you. I feel like somebody's coming in as a messenger and they're giving you some inside knowledge. They're letting you know about an area of challenge that you may face. They might be putting you in the loop about something. And this person's saying, don't worry, I'm here to stand by you. I'm here to offer some kind of protection, some kind of assistance to find a way through, to cut a way through. So we don't waste the dawn. So we don't waste the dawn so we can reclaim it, okay? So this could be somebody that you had a connection with in the past and there's been some separation from this person. They may be coming in to alert you about something. They may have realized, they may have cut through some illusion. They may be seeing ways that you sort of have some outside forces working against you. And they want to help provide some kind of protection, it seems like they don't want you to have to stand alone. That's how it's coming through, okay? So this could be a reunion energy here. I do feel like at one point you had separation from this character. What have we got here? Seven of Cups. Yes, and this was due to some kind of illusion that was cast here with the Seven of Cups. But I feel like some illusion that was sort of spun here, that was set in motion. Time is just about up on the illusion. Somebody has contemplated something here to the point where they now know the truth and they know what is truly just in a situation, right? So this is something that's transforming an energy that's been held up at the South Node. There's some kind of illusion that's seen through. There's also no more waiting around for what could be. It's very much moving into this place of the present and not holding back, taking action. There's no more contemplation that will serve any kind of outcome here. It's like everything that can be seen will have been seen by the time this communication from this individual comes through. And then I think you are well aware of what needs to be cut off, what needs to be released in order to rise up into that energy, that Queen of Pentacles energy. That will be the alchemical point here, right? But there is an illusion that needs to be dispelled. There also needs to be some options that need to be cut off. It's sort of like when we dissipate our energy, that can be problematic, right? When we're sort of weighing out too many options, it can scatter our energy. There is something about really focusing in on one objective here, something you can really get behind. And maybe, grokking some information from your future self who's already living in that place of that fulfillment of that dream, and ask them to help you. Ask them to help you, see that in your dreams, see that in your meditations. Ask them to help you know what needs to go, what needs to be cut off, what needs to be transformed, right? I do see this illusion being dispelled. Okay, let's see what's the nemesis in this lunar cycle for the collective. What is the nemesis for the lunar cycle that we're moving through here? Yeah, not cultivating the light with the Ace of Wands in reverse, not taking action, not using the creative power, staying focused, illuminating what's happened before, keeping your vision focused there. Remember that image of the devil in the tarot. I brought in writing. Yeah, there it is, right at the forefront. I like that. Right behind the Hierophant. Oh, and then right there is Justice. Okay, so I like how this is coming in just to support this. See, this is quintessential to like being the trickster. It's like evoking a little bit of that coyote medicine where you're tripping yourself up. Because instead of using the power that is at your disposal to generate the light and take action in your life, you're instead using it to illuminate, you know, what's already come to pass. And that's a way we sort of hand over the power to our lower nature, because it keeps us in that place of not being willing to risk moving into expansion. You know, sometimes people really do come to be very attached to their chains. They do. And with the devil, there's this goat hoof mudra. There's this goat hoof mudra that the devil is making with the hands here, which is quite fitting on this black moon in Capricorn. And what this means is all you see is all there is. So there's the optics again, right? So if all you see, if all you keep kind of lighting up is what happened in the past, that's all there is for you. It's like, that's all she wrote. There's no more to the story. And you'll kind of continue to regurgitate that story until you feel like you finally have digested it enough that you're ready to take that light, right, and turn it around. And then you'll blaze a trail forward. Yes, and isn't this interesting? So when this is upright, it brings a message of the teaching of holy secrets and how to make weapons and the art of seduction. Yes, and when I'm thinking of this in terms of the art of seduction, it's the way we seduce ourselves, just sort of like stay in a place of creature comfort that doesn't allow our true wild, like feral, explorative, expansive nature to come forward and blaze that new trail. It's a way we trick ourselves into being shackled here, right? So currently, we're not tapped into this. Currently, we're a little too attached to our chains or our limitations or the stories we've spun around that, the narrative we've had around that, and the way we're able to sort of like make a certain devil in our lives, whether it's a difficult person we've dealt with or a difficult situation we've dealt with, as sort of being the one that's holding us back. It's their fault. It's their fault I'm not progressing. It's because I'm dealing with this rough hand of fate that I don't have that advancement I want to see in my life or that pleasure I want to experience in my life. But it's not true. It's not true. It's that the power is being given away. It's being given to others. We may bind it to another with our focus. We may accuse the other of being the one that's holding us back. But really, we hold the power all along. It's just our orientation with how we use it. What are we going to light up? Because all we see is all there is. So if you say, wait a minute, I'm not gonna light that up anymore. I'm gonna turn that torch around. I want to see the way ahead. Well, you start seeing something much different. Okay, so that's the nemesis. That's the energy that could work against us in this lunar cycle. What is our oh, okay, are we using these cards? I guess we're using these now. We switched. We switched. We're using this deck now. All right. Okay, let's do that. This is the glow in the dark tarot. Interesting. All right. Well, let's just move with the spontaneity. I'm not going to resist it. Okay, let's check it out. What is our spirit ally? What is our spirit ally in this lunar cycle? What is our spirit ally in this lunar cycle? Ooh, saved. Almost fell off there. Oh, wow, isn't that interesting the way that came out? It's the 10 of Wands. It's the burden. It's what's weighing us down. It's what's overwhelming us. And we keep trying to save it. We keep trying to save it. Once we recognize that we keep trying to save it, that thing that's actually weighing us down, then it's much easier to let it go, right? Then it's much... Magician energy, Gemini energy right there. Yes. So we do turn it around. That is our ally. We do turn it around. And what's amazing is in taking the action, we get all of the other treasures too. Those 4 jewels of the Tuatha De Danann. I like this. We get all aces on the table. Okay, beautiful energy there. That is the transformational moment. So we know alchemy is happening here. Things aren't going to stay stuck. And I do hear Ted speaking up here for a treat. So let me give Ted a treat. That's right, Ted. You never ask, you can't receive, right? If you never take the action to communicate what you want, you never get what you want. Here you go, baby. Okay. He's such a good fetch. Ted knows how to ask for what he needs, right? So that's wild the way that came out. I want to do a cut the deck on that. That's wild the way that came out. Yeah, see? Got the 7 of Swords, that tricky energy. It's the tricky energy. It's like when we move in that place of like, well, I got to be stealth, or I got to, I got to strategize how I'm going to get this, how I'm going to get my way, that's when we actually are keeping ourselves in that place of burden, and we're preventing this healing that wants to happen. There is the ability to rise above what was an inhibition in the past. And then there's this beautiful, like sharing this synergy of energy at the caduceus there, okay? Transformation for 2. Transformation for 2, all right? Also, our spirit ally can also be, instead of, trying to fumble around in the dark, figuring out where somebody's at, figuring out what somebody feels, figuring out what's going on with somebody, super sleuthing, strategizing. What if there was just like the openness to find out? You know what I mean? Meet eye to eye, communicate. Just open up communication and see what comes through. What's behind that 2 of Cups? Yeah, see? We're not looking at that though. Isn't that wild? Got the 5 of Cups there. Too much focus. Shining that torch down on the south node, looking at what happened back there. Bemoaning what fell off, the way it went. And meanwhile, look, the promise is there if one just turns around, changes the optics, right? There's the 2 of Cups. As soon as we see it, we can't unsee it. Then you rise above it. And yes, I so agree with this. This is my whole philosophy of life. Radical acceptance. I say yes to everything. And I was taught that by a teacher I had. My first teacher on my path. I've had many teachers on my path, but they were my first teacher that really blasted me open and activated my spiritual path. And that was Sivan Gar. She's a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And she taught me that. And I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the power of it when she first told me about it. But now I get it. I get it now. And it really is true. Radical acceptance will find a way through. And it does require trust. It does require faith. To birth a star, sometimes there's a little chaos. And to find your way out of the darkness, to claim that star, that deep held wish, you often have to radically accept what needs to fall away to make it possible. And it absolutely is the key. This is something you can't strategize, right? The more you try to control it, right? Those themes came through. The more you try to hold, the more you try to control, the more you try to figure it out, the more you try to plan it, and you don't just go with the spontaneity of the energy. We're most authentic when we're spontaneous. When we're in this space where we're strategizing, we're plotting, we're trying to figure things out, we're not being in integrity. We are not being authentic. This is convoluted, distorted energy. When we're in a place where we're just really in the moment and we have that space of allowing yes to whatever shows up, even if it's rough. And if it's rough, not saying yes in celebration, but just total openness to the experience and what potential could it hold. Because even when you're going through a really difficult experience, you can remind yourself, well, I've been through hell before and I found a way out of it. And I did get certain knowledge, or I did grow in certain ways, or it did make it possible for me to step into certain opportunities that I never would have before. I'll give an example of that. I mean, the me that I am now, right? I've never liked having pictures taken of myself. I have never liked being on video, right? I have never liked to have myself be caught on film in any way, shape, or form. The me I used to be, even as recent as 5 years ago, never, ever would have done this. If you would have said to me 5 years ago that I was going to be doing this, going live on YouTube, even having a YouTube channel, putting myself on video, I would have laughed at you. I would have said you were crazy. But it's because of certain experiences I went through, and the way they tested me, and the way I had no other choice but to just radically accept it, to make it easier on myself, that it allowed me to also radically accept myself. And radical acceptance does another thing too. It also keeps you from having to look for outside validation. When you no longer are attached to things turning out a certain way, or for others to view you a certain way, or to uphold a certain image, or any of that, if you are just spontaneously in the moment, right? You are going to be your most authentic self, because nothing's contrived. You're just in the moment. It is actually one of the reasons why I do really love lives, is that anything can happen. You know, you have no control. Anything can happen, but that's also where most of the magic comes through. And it's also what I used to experience as a dancer. You know, when I would, right before you get on stage, you're all nervous. And yeah, you can have some strategy in place, you know, beforehand. You have your choreography, you know what the act is all about, all that. And you get yourself all prepared, and your costuming and everything. And it all boils down, when you're a dancer, it boils down to, you got like 5 minutes, right? You spent months in some cases preparing for the 5 minutes. That's it. It boils down to that. But in those 5 minutes that you step on the stage, all that planning, all that strategy, anything can happen. But it's also when some of the most magical moments come through too. And so that's why I think it's so helpful to kind of like view life as theater. View it as live theater, and you're on the stage of life. And if you respond spontaneously, you know, you're going to be better off, because the reality is anything can happen. And we don't have any control. We don't. Control is an illusion. Control is a prison of the mind, right? It's all chaos. Chaos is the creative force of the universe. Boondock! Yay! Oh! And yes, it's not easy being green. It's not easy being green, but when you accept that, hey, it's okay, you know? Sometimes I feel out of place. Sometimes I feel awkward. Sometimes I feel different. Sometimes people don't get me. When you finally accept that, you find freedom. You find total liberation. And in the radical acceptance, that's when all the beauty comes through. So I'm so happy to see you, Boondock. Good to see you. Yes, and then you embrace your future, right? With arms wide open, don't you, Boondock? You have to forgive me. I had to do it, Boondock. I had to bring in the creed, man. Okay, so let's check this out. I'm going to shuffle a little bit more here. That's some pretty good information. Drop your plans. Drop your strategy. I can't talk. Drop your strategizing. And just open yourself up to the experience. Drop your burdens, man. You know, it's okay to hold a little space to process and stuff, but create space to drop it too, so you can see something different. And open yourself up to different experiences. I tend to do that too. I call them pity parties. If I feel like there's something that I really need to let myself just sort of sit with and give myself that opportunity to feel sorry for myself, I'll schedule it. I do. Okay, on Sunday, I'm going to have a pity party. I'm I'm going to make a chocolate pudding pie and I'm going to eat it naked in bed. And I'm going to bitch and moan and feel self-righteous about all the things that didn't work out for me the way I wanted. And then by the time I'm done with that, and I've spent the whole day just doing a whole lot of nothing except feeling sorry for myself, then I'm going to put that behind me and move on. And let me tell you, it works. It works when you put a little bubble around it. And then you get to break on through that bubble. You get to burst that bubble and you get to create a new bubble, you know? Put new good stuff inside of it, right? Let's see what the lay of the land is for us up ahead as we move through this lunar cycle. What is the lay of the land? Oh my gosh, it goes out again. This is the lay of the land. Oh man, that's too bad. Well, I'll send it to me telepathically. I'm sure I'll pick it up there. Look at this. This is the lay of the land. We're not using our power, and we're not generating the light. We're feeling disempowered, and in doing so, we've kind of given away our power, put it in the hands of another or others or circumstances that we say we don't have any say about, but we do. It's just all about where we choose to focus our vision. It's all about the optics. All right. So this is the lay of the land. This is what we really got to focus on right now, is where are we focusing? What are our optics? And in what ways are we focusing on what makes us feel disempowered? Do you know what makes you feel empowered? Have you ever considered that? You know, it's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever considered that. What makes me feel empowered? You know, it's not something I've ever pondered, really. That's interesting. You know, most of the time we think of ways that, you know, we feel disempowered. All right, that might be a good starting point. Maybe light that up. What makes you feel empowered? Do you know? Maybe it's a good time to find out. Maybe it's a good time to explore that, okay? Let's see more about this lay of the land. Okay, we get it. We got to reclaim our power here. What else do we need to do? Yeah, we gotta move out of that place of indecision. We gotta move out of the place of the crossroads. We have to take action. Remember, light is about taking action. So there's a choice that needs to be made here. And what the temptation is, in this case, is ignoring all of that self-knowledge that we already have, all the wisdom that we've already gained that really allows us to make a choice that feels in harmony for our past and how we are meant to move forward at this time. But some of us may be holding ourselves back because of the other, you know, how others view the choice, or how they may be at odds with it, or how it can create a little bit of complication. But sometimes you need a bit of complication to arrive at the magic of simplicity. You know what I'm saying? And all of the magic is found in simplicity. It's found in the simple things. It's not complicated. It's not convoluted. And sometimes it's just as simple as saying, this is true for me. And I'm going to trust my truth. And I'm going to make a choice. And I'm not going to stay put. I'm going to start moving in the direction of my truth. And maybe others will resist it. Maybe others will try to rise up against it. Maybe it will be complicated, but I trust that I will also have enough wisdom and self-knowledge to know how to cross that bridge when I come to it. But at least give yourself the opportunity to get to a bridge so you can get to the other side, right? Okay, pretty clear there. What's the beef, man? What is the meat of the matter? I mean, what is causing the collective to sort of stay in this place of feeding the hungry ghosts of regret? So we just kind of like stay put and we don't really go much of anywhere. What's going on with that? What is the beef? What is the meat of the matter, Spirit? What is the beef? What is the meat of the matter? Yeah, I mean, everything feels suspect, you know? Everything feels iffy. Everything feels like a little illusory. Nothing feels quite right. Or there's a sense of awkwardness and just opening up to the emotional experience of trusting what your intuition is telling you. You know what I mean? Yes. It's also about questioning the flow too. I've never really seen that about this card before. It's like there's a fish in this cup. And, fishes, they know how to go with the flow of the water, right? Even salmon who move against the current, they know how to bring in the creative energy, right? They know how to move against the current to spawn, to bring new life into being. There's something here that makes you feel like a fish out of water. It makes you feel like awkward, or just this isn't the flow that I'm used to, and everything just feels so uncomfortable that it feels like too much of a risk. Again, I think it's like too much strategizing, wanting things to come off in a certain way. It's more appealing to what the other's perspective is, or how it will be viewed, than really going with what feels authentically true for you. But if you're able to get beyond that and go, okay, this is what I really feel compelled to do, I'm going to say yes to this, even though it feels a little uncomfortable or a little awkward. It does challenge me to grow. And again, it's never a wrong choice ever to choose the path of growth. You will be uncomfortable. All the best things come through discomfort. Part of really healing and transforming and coming into your power requires that you get really comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. I relate to this. Yeah, I feel you. I feel like that a lot. I felt like that my whole life, even when I was a really little kid, until I got to the point where, this is what happens. If you go through something severe enough in your life, you do get to the point where you're like, oh, well, it's kind of, you get like a leveling experience will come through at one point where it's like, okay, maybe nobody gets me, but I get myself. And so I'm just going to kind of trust that, because I have a place here too, I have a place here too. I have something to contribute to. That's when you move into more self-validation, self-value, and that's when you're also most authentic, when you're not relying on what other people think of you, It's okay. It's not easy being green, but hey, that's how you make the rainbow connection, right? That's how you get to the promise of what's on the other side of the storms and the troubles, So I like people, that don't sort of follow the crowd. And I think you're one that is going to be able to really trust your intuition and flow with what feels right to you, even if it does feel a little awkward, because I see it moving forward here. Okay. There is a moving forward here with the Knight of Wands. There is a taking up of that power and saying, all right, I'm going to move forward with this. So I like this. This is a positive energy. But I do see like there's like this place. It's interesting how it kind of comes out crossing the levers, right? There is this place of indecision for a moment where it's like, should I really do this? I feel kind of awkward about this. But we're only stuck at the crossroads as long as we're in that place of trying to like weigh something out. The minute you make a choice, you're free. So I do see freedom coming in here. I do see moving forward. Let's see what are the consequences we're going to have to deal with as a result of our past actions. Oh my gosh, so much coming out there. Yeah. Oh, okay. A lot of information coming through here. Okay. So what landed right on top of this Page of Cups is this Five of Swords energy. So again, yeah, this is that place of like suspicion. Always sort of feeling like you need to have a strategy in place because, well, what if somebody's, working against me? Feeling like, you could get duped, feeling like you could get ripped off, feeling like somebody's only out for themselves, And with this energy here, this is something to be very aware of, because when we're in this mindset of just like excessive suspicion, it makes it also really difficult to trust ourselves, right? The minute we start feeling really suspicious, that's a good clue that in some way we're not really in alignment with our own intuition. So that's always a good point to sort of take the focus off the other and just go into the center of yourself, you know, because you got to trust your own intuition, your own insights. You'll be able to know if you trust your own inner navigation, you know, if you can trust something or not, if they're the right kind of alignment for you or not, if somebody is meant to be in your life, or if a situation, if an opportunity is right for you. How do you know that? Not by trying to stay in your safe space and kind of factor out all the variables, try to have it all figured out, nailed down, but just being completely open to the experience, open to the possibility, and spontaneously responding to what comes through. You have to be able to trust yourself that if something doesn't feel right, if something doesn't feel out of balance, if somebody wants to hold all the power in a situation. Hello, Ellis, welcome. Good to see you. Yes, I've got charisma, absolutely, Boondog. You know, but you'll be able to tell if you're in a situation where you have to be beneath somebody in order to have a seat there, then you know it's time to get up and rise. There's no trickery there. You know if you're in this kind of dynamic, right? Oh, hello. I know, the darn Seven of Swords, right? Well, this is sort of like the consequences we have to deal with as a result of our past actions, you know? And we can overcome this, all right? There's ways in the past we've given too much power to others. That's what's created the imbalance, by giving too many other outside forces power over our ability to get where we want to go, to have the kind of experience we want to have. It's like thinking that somebody can like steal your destiny, or that somebody can overcome, you know, what's set in motion for you in your life. That's your birthright, your purpose. Thinking that somebody else can cheat you out of that, or they can sabotage it. They can't. And when we give somebody that much focus and that much power, then we actually put ourselves in a subservient position. So this is about really rising up from those tables that we may sit at with others where, you know, we do have a difficulty trusting them. We do have sort of a sense of, are they for me or against me, right? But see, that can hold you back for a long time. I feel like a lot of us have held ourselves back in the collective in this position, just sort of wondering like, are they good for me or are they not? Is this opportunity for me or is it not? And then staying in that sort of place where we don't take the opportunity, right? We don't move forward because it feels really suspicious and something about it doesn't feel quite right. And instead of just trusting our intuition and what the energy is speaking to us and saying, you know what? It's not for me. It doesn't feel right. I don't feel loyal to this. Don't put it on the other person. Don't say they're disloyal to me. Say you don't feel loyal to it. It doesn't feel like an alignment for you. Okay, I'm going to get up from that table because I don't feel empowered in this situation. See, that changes the whole dynamic. You see, when we shift that, so this is what needs to be shifted. It's an old perspective. This is what we need to sort through and get through. What do we get? We get a brand new view. We open our road and then we get to move forward here. It's a brand new beginning, a new perspective. And we're traveling light moving forward. We're not burdened here. We're not carrying forward the 10 of Wands. We got one staff there. And what it's carrying with us is very light. Our load is light as we're moving forward. And it may be a risk and it may be something very different. And you may have people cautioning you, but you can trust your own inner voice. Where is it leading you? To the sun. You're casting all the shadows aside. Some of those shadows may be coming from a very young part of you that's been holding you back. But I think you're bringing a lot of those young pieces of you up from their hiding places and into the light. And how do you do that? Well, you bring that child self, you know, back into the light by bringing in play, by bringing in that optimism, by seeing the world as total potential, total possibilities. Like, you know, you didn't worry about all these kind of machinations when you were a kid. You were spontaneous. You responded in the moment. This is happiness coming in here. This is moving forward in a state of happiness. It's moving into the light, facing the light and letting the shadows fall behind you, rather than focusing on the shadows of the South Node. And the light's there. It's just waiting for you to acknowledge it. All you got to do is turn around. You just got to shift your optics. They can't steal you. No, they can't. Destiny is yours. I love it too. Golden. I like it. Golden, you know, even your last name, like it invokes that energy of, you know, the alchemist. Yeah. You're the one who is able to bring your destiny into view. It's through alchemizing the hand of fate. Now, I'm not saying, right? I'm not saying you haven't dealt with some, you know, impious people. You don't usually get the 7 of Swords, 5 of Swords showing up on the scene with a little bit of fishy energy, with the, you know, Page of Cups coming in, and this feeling of being in the dark and burdened with the 10 of Wands, right? Yeah, you don't get this energy if everything's been, you know, hunky-dory, right? You don't usually land in this particular pickle when you're in this position, you know, of feeling like you're really in your element, in your flow, right? No. Or where you've got a lot of loyal allies on your side, or people who encourage you or support you. So I'm not saying you didn't deal with some tricky characters here, or deal with some difficult situations where you probably did feel ripped off. You probably did feel betrayed. Maybe you feel like someone outright stole something from you, stole your time, stole your heart, and then trampled all over it, you know, stole your dreams, you know. But really, that's, again, there's a new perspective that's needed here. The optics need to shift. The illumination needs to come. And sometimes we do have to hang out at the crossroads for a while before that illumination does arrive on the scene, you know. And we realize, oh, wait, yeah, but I'm giving that my focus. And because I'm giving that my focus, they're successful in stealing my time. They're successful in robbing me of my dreams because I'm giving them that space, that creative energy, when I could be putting it to use to move forward. And that's why it does come back again and again that radical acceptance is the way through. And that's the point you have to arrive at with the Hanged Man too. Radical acceptance. Radical acceptance. You're going to be in this place where you're going to feel hung up until you get to the place where you stop trying to have every answer or everything all planned out. The minute you let go, it all lights up for you and you find the way through. You see? Then all that you've been longing to come in from a distant shore, all of your hopes, those dreams, they finally do come into view because you're no longer using that wand, to that torch, to sort of light up what was distracting you from the view that wants to come in for you. You got to let the old focus fall behind, right? Interesting energy. Okay. Yeah, look, and then it leads to the 10 of Pentacles there. I mean, that's, you know, really rooting that kind of like legacy energy in your life. What is your legacy? You can tell what your legacy is going to be by sort of like what you're choosing to focus on right now. The more you can kind of put yourself in the driver's seat and stop putting the sort of focus or the impetus on somebody outside of yourself or a circumstance outside of yourself, and sort of look at like, what am I doing right now? What I'm doing in this moment, that's my legacy. That's what I'm kind of leaving behind me as my mark on my time here on planet Earth. It can give you a different kind of perspective because nobody can steal anything from you. It's just about you choosing to give them that time, energy, focus. I mean, people can rip off your money. They can, you know, they can go and like hook up with your partner, you know, you can deal with issues like that. But, you know, really, money can be regained, you know, where there have been losses, where you did lose financially. Maybe that is coming in for some of you. What was lost will be returned. It may come in a different form than you expect. You may never get it back from that person who did you wrong. So staying there and focusing on that is not going to recover it. But if you change your focus, then you'll be put on a track where you'll get everything you lost back and then some, you see? So it's really about changing the orientation, the focus. You know, if somebody went and, you know, fooled around with the person you were in a committed relationship with, they didn't steal that person. You don't own people. They're not property. Maybe they did you a big favor. That could be the best thing that ever happened to you. Maybe that was something that was holding you back and they just lightened your load. Okay. So it's all about the optics there and changing your perspective. What's the power to be gained by the collective through self-mastery here? What is the power to be gained by the collective through self-mastery during this cycle, Spirit? What is the power to be gained through self-mastery during this cycle? What is the power to be gained through self-mastery during this cycle, Spirit? One more round and then I'm going to pick up a different deck. Okay, finally. Oh, I like it. Yeah, I mean, the power comes in accepting the tower as a liberator. It's only the destruction of all that's false. And then it gives you a clear view. You're able to dream a new world into being. We really have to start viewing the towers, instead of being like such a destructive, negative force, is really being a liberating energy. It's something that's coming along to free us from what's binding us to something that will never bring us to that place of fulfillment, because it's false. And it opens up something more true to us, the path of heart. And you got the whole world in your hands. You can make it whatever you want it to be. So this is really positive energy. I like this. It's revolutionary energy. Yes. And we're just beginning here. We're entering a new learning cycle with the Page of Pentacles. You know, and you can't also be in that place where you feel like, well, I can't take a step forward, or I can't activate my dreams, or I can't move into the future until I've learned this, learned that, taken this course, studied this, you know, have these certain elements in play. It's okay to begin where you're at, you know. And again, it brings us back to what we opened up with. There's so much coming in about, it's not about the end result at this point. Right now, it really is about the process. It's about the journey. It's about the unfoldment. That's where all the richness is. That's where all the reward is. But it's something that you'll only see in retrospect. Like, you'll see that in hindsight. But if you can kind of embody that energy right now and almost approach it with a state of like enthusiasm and excitement, like, there's so much for me to discover. I have no idea what's up ahead, but I do know that I'm ready to move forward with this. And maybe it won't be perfect, but I'm excited to learn something new, right? I'm excited to open up myself to different experiences that can really change the dynamic, okay? So we're just getting started here. There's a lot to learn. So once we got ourselves dialed in, what's at stake for our party? What's at stake for those wild band of characters that will be joining us as we head on toward our destiny, as we spin the hand of fate that's been dealt to us into the stuff of our dreams? What's at stake for us? Well, this is something that is important to focus on at this time. What's at stake for those who are journeying with us as we step into the new year? What's at stake? That success we want to see, that way through the overcoming the trials and the tribulations of the past, putting all that stuff that kept us in a stuck, fixed position behind us, a stubborn a stubborn resting point that wasn't allowing new growth. Once we put that behind us and we bring it to a close, suddenly the way opens and we find a way through. We get that new beginning we want. The world turns again and we enter into the beginning of that new cycle as the Fool. So we got to let the world turn. You know, it can be as the world turns, and we can make it a soap opera, and we can be invested in the drama, and we can stay, you know, sort of in our fixed position, and then nothing moves forward. Or we can be willing to sort of like look at the new way something can kind of revolutionize in our life, where we're not staying attached to our focus on what gave us a feeling of self-righteousness. Or some people don't realize that when they're really focused on like the bone of contention, or where they feel resentment, or where they're at odds with someone. It's a way to sort of feel like self-righteous too, you know, and create a scapegoat, negate your own personal responsibility to move beyond something. You may be dealing with an intractable situation or intractable people, but it's like you got the lay of the land. So it's up to you to decide, do you want to stay there in that fixed position? Or do you want to find your way through? Because if you take the risk to step through that portal that will come in with that full moon in Cancer on the 13th of January, you'll find that there is success and adventure on the other side. You don't get to know everything that's going to, you know, happen here. You do have to be willing to take a risk to sort of head in a new direction, try something new. But all the forces will align to support you if you take the risk. It's very positive energy. And you come into contact with the right allies, right? Characters will start to show up on your path. New faces will start to show up on your path. Soulmates will start to come onto your path. People who are meant to align with you because you're building that future together. You're building that dream together, or they play a role in it in some way. Or they bring some kind of education to your path. There's something you learn from your time with each other. So this is getting about, it's getting about the way forward and coming into proper alignment with the people who are meant to share that path with you. I like this. This is really positive energy. It's just really about accepting what needs to come down, like accepting what's false, allowing the illusions to be totally just leveled. And from there, you can build again. You can build again. You can bring some of those castles in the sky, some of those loftier visions down to earth. You can build again. You can build in a new way. Okay, what's at stake for the new world that the collective wants to bring into being here? What's at stake for the new world that the collective wants to bring into being here, Spirit? What's at stake for the new world that the collective wants to bring into being here, Spirit? The stake of the new world. Well, the beginning of it. The beginning of it. It's funny how it keeps coming back to this over and over and over again. You have to act. The time of like contemplating the navel has come to a close with 2024. And we may be just at the beginning stages of generating that light that will be our torch that lights our way forward. And we may not be able to take some radical leap forward, right? But the point is to just get started. And to me, this seems like it's as simple as changing your optics. And maybe you start with the action of maybe committing to no longer fixating on what happened in the past. And instead, you're going to start putting your focus on moving into the future by being very present with where you're at right now and looking around you and saying, well, what can I do? What can I do to do even the tiniest thing that feels like it's moving me forward, right? So the initiation, you know, answering the call, the initiation of actually taking the action to bring the new view into being that you want to see up ahead on your horizon. That's what's at stake. That's what's at stake. Do you want the new world to come in for you? Do you want the new view? Do you want to get to the other side of what's held you back? Got to start somewhere. You know, there's a different approach that needs to be taken here. There's a different focus that needs to be had, and it changes everything. It starts small, but within about 8 weeks, you know, by the time you reach March, you'll be well on your way. You know, it just takes a little time. Okay, it takes a little time to ease on into it. What's the cookie? What's the sweet reward? What's the collective in store for? What's a sweet treat in store for the collective if they do take this risk to try something new, to gain a new perspective, to take a step forward, however small, to change the orientation of their optics and what they're focusing on? What's the sweet reward that will come in for the collective if they're willing to take that risk? What's the sweet reward that will come in for the collective if they're willing to take that risk? See, it's interesting because like right now you have an idea of what you'd like to bring in with the Knight of Pentacles, but it hasn't been acted upon, right? You can have a seed you want to plant for your future, but it does require that you actually plant it, and then you have to nourish it. And it's a step-by-step process, right? It starts small, and it does take time, right? I understand a lot's been leveled here, right? But this is about laying down the proper foundation and doing it right. But it does require taking an initial action. Ted's wanting another treat here. Ted's like, you mentioned treat. I want my treat. Here you go, baby. There you go. All right, let's see. Oh my gosh. With that, we got the Queen of Wands and the King of Cups in reverse. All right. So this gives you a big clue. This gives you a big clue. It's almost like saying, like, we can't even talk about the cookie yet. Because first of all, there's no willingness to take any kind of action, right? There's also a complete shutdown in the heart space here that doesn't even allow that cookie to come in. You know what I'm saying? If you are shut down emotionally, if you're not even open to it, you can't experience the transformation that comes through the cauldron of Dagda, right? That fire energy in the form of the spear of Lu needs to merge with the water, that cauldron of Dagda, to get something cooking that will really nurture the vision forward. So, I mean, it's interesting that it's kind of staying on that stuck point. It's like, we're not going to tell you what the cookie is. You're too focused on what the reward is or the outcome to actually be able to get there at this point. There's really a necessary process that needs to be gone through here where it involves setting something in motion so healing can be facilitated. There's some choice that needs to be made here, collective. I'm wondering, part of me wants to like tempt fate a little bit and ask for some more illumination here in regard to that. I'm going to pull out the occult tarot with the angel tarot here, and let's just see if we can get some more insight. What's the cookie? Sometimes people need a cookie to move them into action, Spirit. 3 of Pentacles in reverse. Yeah, now you got to do the work first. It's really highlighting this. Okay, come on. I'll press my luck. I'll press my luck. One more time. Any little hope you can give us here about what could be on the other side of the indecision, the inaction? It might give people enough courage to step forward. Basis of the matter. Okay, I like that. There's the Queen of Cups upright here. Okay, so it is saying there is a need to turn things around here, right? Turn things around. Be motivated by the heart. Ted drinking the water there, perfect timing. Gotta nurture the water a bit, all right? Have to nurture the water a bit. And there's something here that's preventing the moving forward. There's a fear of maybe entering the cauldron of Dagda. There's a fear of entering those emotional waters, right? And the transformation that it involves. There's like a clinging to some creature comfort here with the Ace of Swords. And it's because of this fear of exposure. Like if I enter those waters, if I really follow my heart, if I move in the direction that I feel inspired to move in, and if I take the risk to open myself to that and I'm vulnerable, there's this fear of being overcome. And yet everything you want is on the other side of that fear. It is the work that needs to be done with the Three of Pentacles in reverse. And it's interesting because it's in the reverse, right? But if we were to turn this upright, we would find that what's needed is mental force here, right? Sometimes you do need to really like kind of hone your vision. You need to sort of work at it a bit. If you're used to sort of traveling certain loops within your mind, you have to catch yourself traveling the same loops, and you have to say, hey, you're doing it again. Come back here. Come back to this moment. What are you focusing on? And it can be annoying at first, right? It's a little frustrating at first, but that's the very thing that protects against future sorrows. That's what protects you from like a repeat of this old cycle. Once you do that, you'll align with your truth. And I do see you will align with your truth. But when we're looking at that sword of truth or frog rock, the answer, that first jewel of the Tuatha De Danann, it's able to answer all your questions. It's able to give you all the answers you need. It's able to give you clarity. It's able to cut a way through. It will give you those answers, but you have to know the right direction to point the tip of that sword to get the answers you seek. And I can tell you right now, it's not through clinging to your creature comforts. It's not through pointing it back at the past or what happened back there. That's not going to help you cut a way through here. Also, once you align with your truth and once you're able to see it with clarity, you have to act on that truth. So there's almost like too much of a focus on, well, yeah, but I need to make this person see truth my way. And sometimes that's not always possible, right? And that can really hold you up. It can be a bit of a griffin that comes in to steal your treasure. You can say it was sent to you by a dark wizard who is trying to foil your plans. But really, it's just you catching yourself up because you would rather stay in the comfort of the quagmire. You'd rather stay in the comfort of the question than actually take the risk to enter the flow of life, which requires you have to be vulnerable, right? You have to expose yourself. You have to expose yourself to new perspectives, new stimulus, new awarenesses, new experiences, new people, new adventures, right? And it's all unfamiliar territory. But you're the one stealing your treasure because you're clinging to something that's only keeping you land-bound. And to get where you need to go, that distant shore, you got to make it across that great sea, right? It's going to take some mental force to turn this around, right? All right, I tried to push our luck. I tried to push our luck, but it's really requiring that we do the work here, okay? It is important. All right, then let's just see. What should be the target we aim for as we move through this lunar cycle? What should be the target we aim for as we move through this lunar cycle so we can alchemize what's holding us back, what's keeping us from acting on that truth, what's keeping us from really doing the work and taking the risk to be vulnerable so we can actually, exercise that power. Landed right on my hand there. I love it. Yes. You can reclaim the magic, I have to say. Look at this. 9 of Pentacles. All of the magic is within you. You do have a steed that can carry you forward here. It's coming through as a unicorn. There's a bit of magic coming through here for you. It can help you reclaim some kind of delight, some kind of inspiration in your life that you may have felt was cast aside as spoils of dreams lost. But there's something coming through here that's going to inspire you. If you're only willing to take the risk to dip your toes in those unfamiliar waters, This causes any manner of music to be played, causes trees to bend at will, and brings excellent familiars. So you see, when you start looking at things from the vantage point of, now that I've released all this, there's room for new characters to come into my storyline. There's new plots to awaken. There's new opportunities to be had, new adventures to unfold. You're going to find that you have a lot of allies coming on your path. And these allies that are coming in, they're going to have you moving forward in a whole new way, you know, moving forward with more joy, maybe moving forward to the beat of your own drum. And where things seem impossible because you weren't aligned with the right people or the right opportunities before, you're going to find that suddenly the impossible is possible. So that's some really good energy there. Need to focus on the magic, on the creative energy, building the light. Focus on where you're going, the opportunities that are being presented to you, the new influences, inspirations that are coming in. It's really about setting your sights in a new direction and maybe even exploring yourself creatively. And maybe that's a good starting point, right? If you're having a hard time sort of wrapping up something that was very difficult for you to process, and you haven't been able to kind of get to the other side of it, it may be a good time to release some of that energy to creativity. That's a new object. That's a new way of focusing your vision, you know? It also puts you more in your own power and your own essence, right? If you're struggling with something and you don't know how to integrate it, but you keep kind of looking back at the event that caused that frisson within yourself, or you keep looking back at the person that you kind of put the blame on, the impetus on. And very, very well, that may be justified, you know? You may have been treated poorly by somebody who has very unhealed parts of themselves, okay? But the answer is not going to be found in the person that activated the wound in you. It's going to be actually through entering the wound that the light's going to come through. In some ways, the way that light comes through is through actualizing it creatively, to take it out of sort of this intangible place of the confused feelings that you got going inside, and instead create a beautiful picture. Or you're like, well, I'm not an artist. I create my painting. It looks like a big mess, but there's beauty within that mess. It's cathartic. It's a release of the energy, and it takes everything that was in you and it puts it outside of you. And so you get to look at it in a different way. So there might be a lot that's coming through for you inspirationally, and also a lot that's coming through for you in nature that's awakening a bit of a bardic kind of energy within you that can take some of that heavy matter that's been weighing you down and spin it into the stuff of gold. And in fact, it may even play a very important role in what pans out for you in the future. It gives you a lot of internal growth. It also gives you a lot of material growth on your path. It may become the inspiration of an entirely new line of work for you as well. Some of you are feeling a lot of your disappointment around that, around the rat race, around the structure of society and the way you have to show up in the world and what defines success. And you want to reinvent that for yourself. And there's something here about allowing yourself to explore that, okay? Even if you kind of like feel like a noob, or even if you tell yourself, well, I don't have an artistic bone in my body. Not true. We all hold a bit of creative magic within us. And through just opening up to the exploration of it, you might be surprised what starts to come through for you. There is a lot of musing energy coming in. All right? I like this. It's a good place to focus, okay? It's a good target. Let me do a cut of the deck here with this black and white tarot to cap it off. This glow-in-the-dark tarot. What we got here? I love it. So we do get Fraggle Rock. We do act on our truth. We do pull it from its sheath. And look at that. It brings us victory. And then we have a proper adventure ahead of us. Then you know where you're heading. And when we're looking at the Page of Swords in this respect, when it comes out upright, wielding that sword of truth, this is really the spirit of the adventurer. This is being daring. This is being willing to get a new view. And you'll like where you land. You'll like where you go and the places you'll see and the people who line the path along the way and all the experiences you're going to have. They do bring you ultimately to that place of your destiny. But this is when you finally get into the game and you stop being a pawn of the past, living in that place where you allow the ghosts of regret to haunt you. So big turning point coming in here. Big turning point coming in here. And from there, the world is your oyster. You have a lot of different options. What do you want to create? What do you want to bring in? I think you're going for that unknown cup. You're not quite sure what's inside. It's a bit of a gamble, but it's drawing you in a way that the others kind of fall flat. You're looking at what is unknown in a new way, and you're willing to step into your enterprising energy there. You're willing to be a bit ambitious. We got that King of Wands energy, fire forward, and you're heading down that track. You're raising that wand, the wand of the alchemist, and you're weaving a new way into being. I love it. And again, this reading has been very much like this. We end up where we started out. You see, the orientation changes. You're not aiming your focus down at what's below. You're calling in those loftier visions and you're commanding them to take root in your life. I like it, collective. Positive energy, beautiful energy, progressive energy. And I think that feels good. We've been riding this out for a while, almost 3 hours here. Anybody want to bring anything in? Anybody have anything they want to share before we close this out for tonight? I am going to be bringing in the rest of the 2025 year ahead predictions for each individual sign. We will continue with that, beginning with Taurus, because they were next up on Saturday, all right? In the meantime, I'm going to have out those reads we've been doing with Mr. Mojo Rising the next 72 hours for the different elemental collectives. So we got water coming up next and then fire. And those will be coming out on the channel before New Year, all right? So we will close out the year with that just to give you a little focus there as you ease into the energy of 2025. I'm also going to have the bonus read coming in for all of you who donated to the channel. I didn't forget about you. We're going to make sure we take care of all of that. And that also will be coming in by New Year's Eve, all right? Before it strikes midnight, the most magical hour of all, I'll make sure I got all of that out to you all. And I do want to say to all of you, thank you so much for all the ways that you supported the channel. This, for me, starting a channel and heading down this track was a huge risk. And many times I felt very awkward, and it's been totally unknown territory. And I've had to learn about it on the fly. And I can tell you from being through that experience that you don't give yourself enough credit. You'll be amazed how if you just take a risk to set something in motion that is calling you, even if you don't understand, why is this calling me? You'll be surprised what it pulls out of you. And you'll be surprised what you're able to pull into your life as well, and the way it will transform you, and how rich the actual process is of just moving on down the road. Thank you so much, Boondock. I really appreciate that. You know, there's times I've gotten lost. You know, there's times I haven't known the best way forward. There's times that I've gotten distracted from my own vision, and I listened to the perspectives of others. And then once again, you know, I had to go on a little side quest to only bring me right back around again, loop me back around to the beginning and go, no, man, I just want to go my own way, do my own thing, and trust that others who kind of look through a similar reality tunnel as me, who want to have a more magical, free playful, optimistic way forward, a way forward that doesn't have to be about the individual, but really does recognize like we all can get there. You know, it doesn't have to be about competition. It's about all of us thriving. And we do that when we come together in that spirit of playfulness and turning that energy of that 5 of Wands away from that sort of like competitive, greedy, mine, I want to get ahead, it's all about me, too focused on the end result, right? And we can turn it into its most exalted form, because you see, the 5 of Wands can also be playful. It can be playful, it can be banter, it can be enthusiasm, and everybody kind of getting together, bringing their fire together. Hello, Snow White, good to see you. So there's a different way of visioning the future, and we're all in this process of figuring out. But you don't have to be perfect, is what I'm saying, as you step into new territory. You don't have to have all the answers. You can do it on the fly. You can figure it out as you go. Will you make mistakes sometimes? Yeah, you will. Are there people who laugh at you? Maybe. Does it matter? No, it doesn't really matter, because let me tell you, the people who laugh at you are people that aren't brave enough to take the risk that you do. Okay? So there's so much importance in just being willing to be the student, right? I feel you. I feel you. A lot has changed in my particular social circle too. A lot has changed in my reality. There's times I had to be the wanderer, and it's okay. There's times I had to be alone because I had to do that, right? I had to get clear with myself. What am I feeling? What do I really want to focus on here? What's my truth? But the reality is, where you do deal with opposition like that, where people laugh at you or they put you down, or they talk smack about you, whatever, it's just because they don't have the courage, right? They don't have the courage to take the risk to move forward. They don't have the risk. And so they'd rather kind of like place that on you than really look at themselves and go, well, why am I so invested in, not looking like the fool? Why does it matter so much? Everybody plays a fool sometimes. No exception to the rule, right? No exception to the rule. And it's only when we are willing to really accept the truth of that, first of all, there are no gurus. There are no experts. You can know something about a particular field, or you can have certain knowledge, but you don't know everything. And the more we think we know everything, the more we think we got it all figured out, the more lost we are, the more out of touch we are. But if you can really look at yourself and go, I'm always the beginner. And isn't that a wonderful thing? I'm always the beginner. I don't have to be perfect. I'm always learning. And I begin again in every moment. And yeah, sometimes I slip, sometimes I fall, sometimes I make an ass out of myself. But at the end of the day, it's worth it. It's worth the risk. It's worth the risk to be willing to learn. It's worth the risk to be the student of life, instead of feeling like you got it all figured out. So take some risks. Be willing to step forward in whatever little way you need to. And if you need to do it like What About Bob and take your baby steps, that's okay too. Oh, yeah. I hear that. Yep. I hear that. It's the way it is, man. In the destruction is the evolution. They're two sides of the same coin. Chaos breeds the creativity. It is the way it is. And yeah, sometimes you do need to do that, just so you can start again. Just so you can start again. I think a lot of people relate to that. But one thing that I'm going to be bringing back in, that I kind of pulled back from a bit, because I needed some time out of the soup of the collective soup of too many other people's energy, is I'm going to be bringing back in more of these lives, more of these live lives. And I'm going to be doing that in the new year. So, I'm in it with you. There may be times I fumble. There may be times it's awkward, but I'm going to have fun. And I'm not going to hold myself back from the exploration and what I learn along the way. Yes, good, wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. And I'm so glad you showed up. It's really good to see you. I've missed you. You've probably been like me. You just needed to kind of get lost out there for a while in order to find yourself. That's one of the best ways to find ourselves, right? All right, y'all. Well, big love to all of you, and I hope you have a really blessed new year. I hope you enter it in such a way that you just make the choice to be open to a different kind of you, right? And once again, thank you so much to all of you who subscribe to the channel. When I do the future lives, it won't necessarily be like this, you know, where it's only for subscribers, but this was something very special that I wanted to do for those who had been showing me support through the process and had my back. So just wanted to say thank you to you all and demonstrate it in that way. But in the future, we'll just open it up. I don't know, maybe I'll have it like, you have to be subscribed at least 1 minute to the channel. You want to take part in this conversation. We want to make sure that we're building the right frequency with each other. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm going to play it fast. I'm going to play it loose. I'm not going to have any rules, but there will be more. There will be more lives. We'll be doing more of this. And I want to hear your voices, you know, so bring it in. If there's certain things you want me to bring lives in around, or if you have certain ideas, let's bring it in as a community and let's hold the space. Thank you so much. I know you're a great supporter, Melissa. You're always like in the lives. You've been showing up. And, you know, I just really want you all to know how much I do appreciate that. Because it's not easy. It's not easy, you know. Making yourself vulnerable like this, putting yourself out here like this, knowing you're going to deal with scrutiny, you know, it comes with the territory online and everything that comes into play, right? But yeah, 2025 going in with our arms wide open and not in a creed sort of way. It's not going to be creed. It's going to be so good, so good. Just to let all the goodness in that wants to come in, all right? Yes, with heart wide open. I like that. All right. I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. I'm going to just kind of chill out and enjoy the vibes of this black moon energy. And I'll be back with some uploads tomorrow. So do look for more of that coming in New Year's Eve. I will be dropping in on those chats, but they are going to be premieres, okay? Because this takes a lot of energy, the lives. It's a whole different kind of like ambiance, you know, and a processing of the energy. So I think I'm going to just kind of chill out with you guys in the live chat who want to show up and drop in. Aw, thank you. You too. I'm glad I know you too. I'm glad I've gotten to know all of you, all of you. Thank you so much to all of the members too who have been a big support to the channel as well. All right, I'm rambling, so I'm going to ramble on. Have a beautiful evening, and more to come tomorrow. All right, more reads to take in, and then I'm going to take a few days off. I'm taking off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then I'll come in on Saturday, and then I'm going to have my usual kind of schedule. It's not a real fixed schedule, but it's my usual schedule. I'll take my Tuesday, my Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off. Yeah. Okay. And that gives me kind of like, I'm giving myself a little cushion, you know. I did a lot of work so I could bring a lot in for you all. And then I'm giving myself some space to enter the new year mindfully. Well, happy birthday in advance, Melissa. Happy birthday to you. Also, one of our members, Miss Jenna. Miss Jenna's going to be having her birthday on the 1st, on New Year's Day. So in advance, happy birthday to you, Miss Jenna. And also my first teacher kind of cracked me open that I brought in on this live, Sivan Gar. She is also born on New Year's Day. So I know some really quality Capricorns, salted earth Capricorns, that have made just such a big impact on my life. And happy birthday to all of you Capricorns. I hope you have a really blessed trip around the sun. And we'll be bringing in your solar return read too. All right. So be on the lookout for that. I'm going to sign off now. You all have a beautiful night. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm not going to put timestamps on this one. You either want to write it out or you don't. If you made it this far, I hope you will consider subscribing. Okay. If you've just been tuning in and you haven't been commenting, we are focused on really bringing people together from all walks of life around here. This is a safe space for everybody. We welcome everybody here, no matter your beliefs, no matter your political views, no matter your station in life, right? Everybody's welcome here. And we make it a space where we can bring our energy together in such a way where we focus on points of connection so we can bring a new way into being. So thank you very much to all of you. Blessings and Happy New Year. Take care.